You think you've mastered the art of manifestation. You know the lingo. You've set goals. You've read about quantum jumping, affirmation rituals, and visualizations that promise to move mountains. You may have even had moments where you felt on the cusp of something extraordinary, like the universe was about to tip in your favor, but then the results faded or never quite appeared the way you hoped. Now, here's the truth. There's a hidden step most people never see, a micro-action so crucial it powers the entire quantum feedback system that shapes reality as you know it. If you're not getting the results you want, it's almost certainly because you're skipping this one step. That's not just hype. It's a fact backed by both the frontiers of physics and the oldest spiritual traditions. This isn't another empty promise or a recycled concept from the world of self-help. We're going deeper beyond motivational cliches to reveal a single step that operates like a master switch. It governs whether your intentions loop back as tangible results or vanish into the void. The astonishing thing? Over 99% of people never recognize this. They try to force, to will, to hope and hustle, never realizing that reality itself is structured to respond not to effort, but to a feedback loop that must be activated consciously. Over the next 4 hours, you're not just going to learn about this step. You're going to see why so many get stuck, even when they think they're doing everything right. You'll discover how science accidentally exposed the secret in labs, how ancient sages described it in language we can finally decode, and how feedback loops don't just run your personal life, they run the universe. You'll find out why thoughts alone aren't enough, why energy alone won't do it, why hustle is never the answer, and why outcomes seem to dangle just out of reach no matter how hard you try. The reason is almost never what you think. We'll uncover how every thought, belief, emotion, and action you produce is received and reflected back to you. Not always as you intend, but precisely as your quantum feedback loop is set. You'll discover the astonishing power of micro-intentions and see how even the smallest, split-second signals can ripple out and reshape reality. But here's where this journey gets truly extraordinary. We're not stopping at knowledge or theory. You'll be invited to test, to challenge, to experiment with the feedback loop in real time. You'll learn how to spot the signals, hack the code, and reboot your entire results stream within seconds. Not months, not years. We're going to trace the evidence from the double-slit experiment in quantum physics to the ways nature, yes, even mushrooms and forests, mirror the same loop in their cycles. We'll break down why trying to force results only jams the feedback and how surrender, when properly understood, becomes the highest form of control. This is not about believing harder or just having faith. This is about tuning your system, seeing how your beliefs filter and distort what you receive, how emotions amplify or muddy the signal, and how a single adjustment can change your trajectory. By the end of this series, you'll have a new blueprint for reality. One where you don't have to guess if it's working. You'll see, feel, and measure the change. You'll stop chasing outcomes and start activating the feedback that brings them to you. Curious? You should be, because you're about to uncover the difference between getting random results and turning your entire life into a quantum feedback machine, delivering precisely what you signal. Here's how we're going to do it. First, we'll blow up the most common myths about reality itself and look straight at the paradox that keeps almost everyone in a state of confusion. You'll see why your results don't match your efforts and why thoughts become things is only half the story. Then, step by step, you'll learn how to spot the trap where almost everyone gets stuck. The infamous 99% who spin their wheels, repeating rituals or habits, never knowing why the universe seems silent. We'll uncover the invisible step, expose the secret switch, and walk you through real-life signals that prove the loop is working or jammed. You'll explore ancient wisdom that speaks shockingly clearly about the feedback loop, and why the lessons of mystics, shamans, and monks were more scientific than we ever realized. From there, we'll crack the double-slit experiment, showing you what even physicists miss about observation, intention, and the feedback cycle embedded in the fabric of the universe. We're not stopping there. You'll learn how this loop appears in your own mind, your emotions, your relationships, your finances, your body, and even your digital life. You'll uncover the blocks that keep results just out of reach and see how to clear the static, decode the signals, and reboot the loop for instant upgrades. You'll gain tools like the feedback journal, micro-intention training, and the quantum ask, each designed to make the feedback loop visible, actionable, and infinitely more responsive to you. You'll even discover how to bring this into your teams, families, and communities, amplifying the effect and creating a feedback field so powerful, it feels like life is conspiring in your favor. Finally, you'll learn how to integrate this quantum feedback mastery into your blueprint for reality, designing your own feedback-driven life, riding the infinite loop, and stepping into the version of yourself that the universe can't ignore. Ready to challenge everything you know about reality? Let's start by blowing up the first myth and peering straight into the quantum feedback paradox. Why reality isn't what you think. You've heard it everywhere. Thoughts become things. It sounds empowering, simple, and almost magical. Focus on what you want, believe hard enough, and the universe will rearrange itself to match your desires. But if you've ever actually tried it, you've probably noticed a gaping hole between what's promised and what shows up. The paradox starts right there. Let's call out the confusion head-on. The world is full of people trying to think positive, visualize harder, or use mental tricks to bend reality. Yet for most, the results are inconsistent at best. Some things work, some don't. Sometimes you get exactly what you expect, and other times, it's as if the universe has gone completely deaf. So why does this happen? Why do so many pour effort into positive thinking, intention setting, or even prayer, only to be met with silence or, worse, the exact opposite of what they wanted? This is where the quantum feedback paradox begins to reveal itself. At the core of the paradox is the idea that reality is not a blank canvas waiting to be painted by your thoughts alone. Instead, it's a living system, dynamic, responsive, and built around feedback. Every signal you send out is bounced back to you, but not in a straightforward cause and effect way. Instead, the universe operates through a loop, receiving, reflecting, and amplifying what you truly signal, not just what you want. This is why simply thinking a thought isn't enough. You may say, "I am abundant," but if your feedback loop is still running on scarcity, that is the signal reality receives. You may try to manifest a relationship, but if you're signaling lack or neediness at a deeper level, the loop delivers more absence instead of connection. This feedback system is so subtle, most never notice it. They focus on the surface words, thoughts, or rituals, never seeing that reality is responding to the entire spectrum of their being. Their beliefs, emotions, and especially their hidden microsignals. These signals form a loop, one that's always on, always delivering feedback, whether you're aware of it or not. It's not about being good or bad at manifesting. It's not about having the right script or the perfect vision board. The paradox is that the loop doesn't respond to what you say or even what you think in isolation. It responds to what you're actually feeding it at every level, consciously and unconsciously. Let's get even clearer. When people say, "Thoughts become things," they're only catching the first half of the process. Thoughts are the initial signal, but without engaging the feedback loop, those signals vanish into background noise. The universe isn't a vending machine. It's a living feedback system, constantly tuning to your deepest signal. Here's another layer of the paradox. Most people operate as if reality is passive. They send out wishes or intentions and wait for a reply. In truth, reality is always responding, but the feedback is often so subtle, or arrives in forms you don't expect, that it's missed or dismissed. When the loop goes unrecognized, the signals get scrambled, the results become random, and frustration sets in. Now, let's look at what happens when you try to force reality. When you grip tightly to a goal, obsess over an outcome, or try to control every detail, the feedback loop doesn't become stronger, it actually jams. You create resistance, introducing noise and static into the system. The paradox is that the more you try to force the loop, the less responsive it becomes. So if reality isn't just waiting for your thoughts, and trying harder doesn't work, what does? The answer sits in the feedback, learning to send clear signals, to receive the subtle reflections, and to adjust your state based on the information that comes back. The paradox reveals that results are not random. They're structured by a loop so precise, so responsive, and so universal that it shows up everywhere, from quantum experiments to natural ecosystems, from relationships to your bank account. It's not about whether the loop exists. It's about whether you're engaging it consciously and whether you're activating the step that makes it work for you. Every single moment, you're inside this quantum feedback paradox. Whether you want to change your circumstances, attract abundance, shift your health, or upgrade your relationships, the process is always the same. The feedback loop is on, humming in the background, reflecting your truest signals, no matter what you say, think, or do on the surface. This may feel like a lot to take in, but that's the power of the paradox. By seeing reality as a loop, not a line, you finally gain access to the real lever of change. You stop chasing outcomes and start tuning the loop itself. And when you do, everything begins to shift, often in ways that feel both magical and logical at the same time. Now, you might be wondering, if I'm inside this feedback loop all the time, why am I not seeing the results I want? The answer isn't just about missing knowledge. It's about falling into a hidden trap, one that catches almost everyone at some point. Next, we will expose the infamous 99% trap, where even the most dedicated seekers get stuck, and why the loop seems to jam just when you need it most. You've now seen the paradox at the heart of reality. You know thoughts aren't enough and that reality itself is a feedback system, not a vending machine. But this is exactly where almost everyone falters. Most people set out with good intentions, try the latest manifestation technique, or throw themselves into positive thinking, only to hit a wall. This wall isn't just personal failure or lack of effort. It's a universal pitfall, and it's the reason so many stay stuck, no matter how hard they try. Let's be brutally honest. Most of what's taught about manifestation, law of attraction, or even goal setting doesn't address this trap. They tell you to focus on what you want, to feel as if you already have it, or to push through blocks with more affirmations. Yet the results don't arrive, or if they do, they seem fleeting or accidental. Over and over, people report feeling stuck, as if they're pressing all the right buttons, but nothing's moving. This is the 99% trap, the invisible quicksand of the personal growth world. Almost everyone falls in. They confuse the surface actions for the deeper work. They say the right things, repeat the right mantras, even visualize with intense clarity. But there's a hidden assumption running beneath all this, the belief that the right ritual or the perfect mindset will automatically activate the loop. But the feedback loop is never activated by surface actions alone. It's set into motion by a far more subtle and often overlooked signal. This is the secret most never learn, and it's why even experienced seekers and seasoned practitioners can struggle for years without real, lasting change. They become experts at doing, but never masters of being. They try to force feedback, never realizing the system is self-correcting, and it's the missing step, not a missing ritual, that's at fault. Let's break this down. The 99% trap happens because people are taught to focus on outputs, not on tuning the input and receiving the feedback. They set intentions but never check if those intentions are actually being received and reflected by the loop. The result? They become attached to effort, not feedback. They're always doing, always striving, always waiting for some magical sign that they're on the right track, never realizing that the sign is already there. It just speaks a different language. So how does this trap show up? It manifests as endless cycles of self-help books, workshops, and courses that promise the answer, but only deliver temporary hope. It shows up as frustration, self-doubt, or even cynicism when nothing seems to change. People begin to question themselves. Am I not spiritual enough? Do I not believe hard enough? When in reality, they're missing the loop entirely. The real kicker is this. The harder you try to force the system, the deeper you sink into the trap. When you're attached to effort, to trying, to making it happen, you signal to the loop that you don't really trust it to reflect anything back. You block feedback by obsessing over control. The more you push, the more the loop closes off. Let's look closer at what the 99% trap is hiding. Underneath all the striving and struggling is a simple but profound misunderstanding. The belief that reality changes because you want it to, not because you've tuned into the feedback and adjusted your own signal. This is why some people seem to get results effortlessly, while others chase outcomes for years. The feedback loop is indifferent to what you say you want. It only responds to what you actually signal, and that signal is a combination of your beliefs, emotions, subconscious programming, and the micro actions you take moment to moment. When you get stuck in the 99% trap, you keep repeating the same output, expecting different feedback without ever actually tuning the input. Think about how this might show up in your own life. Maybe you've tried to manifest financial abundance, but you keep thinking about bills or debts, sending out a signal of lack rather than prosperity. Or maybe you've visualized a relationship, but deep down, you're afraid of being rejected. The loop receives that signal, fear, doubt, lack, and reflects it right back to you. You don't get what you want, you get what you signal. And because the trap is so subtle, most people never see it happening. Here's another angle. Most mainstream advice teaches you to focus on what you want, but rarely to pay attention to what you're actually receiving. The feedback is always there, but it often arrives as tiny nudges, gut feelings, synchronicities, or even setbacks. If you're stuck in the trap, you ignore these signals, chasing only the big outcomes, missing the microfeedback that would help you adjust your signal and actually activate the loop. This is the real tragedy of the 99% trap. The feedback loop is working perfectly, but it's reflecting your current state, not your stated desires. Most people ignore the feedback, deny the reality they're receiving, and keep repeating the same actions. The loop keeps sending the same result. Frustration grows, the sense of helplessness expands, and the cycle repeats. But the loop is always honest. It's always reflecting your true frequency, your real beliefs, your actual emotional state, and your hidden intentions. Not your hopes, not your effort. It's a perfect mirror, but most people are looking out the window, not at the reflection. So how do you escape the 99% trap? You learn to spot the feedback. You become willing to see what reality is actually showing you, not just what you hope to see. You tune into the subtle, often overlooked signals that are already present, and you become a feedback detective. You stop chasing and start receiving. The first step out of the trap is awareness. Awareness that every moment, the loop is giving you information. Every delay, every unexpected twist, every synchronicity, and even every setback is a form of feedback. When you stop resisting or denying this information, you unlock the loop. You start to see how the system works, and more importantly, how to make it work for you. You also have to become ruthlessly honest with yourself. Are you truly open to feedback? Or are you so attached to your own script that you miss the loop's response? Are you repeating rituals out of habit? Or are you actually tuning in and adjusting based on the results you're receiving? Are you willing to be surprised, to be challenged, to receive feedback in unexpected ways? Because the loop rarely delivers exactly as you expect. It delivers precisely as you need. There's another key insight here. Escaping the 99% trap isn't about adding more effort or stacking more techniques. It's about removing the layers of noise and static that keep you from recognizing the feedback that's already present. It's about shifting from output-obsessed to feedback-aware. When you make this shift, the loop becomes active. It starts to work with you, not against you. You enter the rare 1% who actually get results, consistently, predictably, and with far less effort than you ever imagined. Now you know the story isn't so simple. You see why most people get stuck, even when they're doing everything right on the surface. But there's one more revelation to come, one that will change how you see every result you get, every delay, every synchronicity, every failure, and every moment of your life. Next, we will uncover the invisible step, the secret switch in the loop that transforms random effort into real, reliable change. At this point, you understand why so many get stuck. You've seen the trap, you know that the feedback loop is always working, and you've realized that surface actions aren't enough. Now, let's shine a spotlight on the missing link. The step so subtle, it remains invisible to almost everyone. Even those who study quantum mechanics, manifestation, or personal transformation for years. This is the secret switch in the loop, and activating it changes everything. To understand this step, you need to shift your focus from doing to being. Most people are locked in action, setting intentions, repeating affirmations, or visualizing their goals. But the loop doesn't respond to action alone. It responds to a signal, a frequency that comes from your state of being. This is the invisible step, activating the feedback loop by changing not what you do, but how you are. Let's get concrete. The invisible step is the point where your intention, belief, emotion, and attention align. When these elements come into harmony, they create a signal so clear, so powerful, that the feedback loop snaps into action. Without this alignment, your signals are mixed, confused, or weak. The loop reflects that confusion right back. But when you hit the invisible step, the feedback becomes immediate, obvious, and potent. Most never reach this step because they're too focused on outputs. They think the right ritual or action will force the universe to respond. But the universe doesn't respond to force. It responds to resonance. The invisible step is about finding the frequency that matches your desired outcome and holding that frequency long enough for the loop to reflect it back. This isn't about faking it or pretending. It's about embodying the reality you want as if it's already true, not just in thought, but in feeling, belief, and behavior. When you do this, the feedback loop becomes a precision instrument, reflecting your new state of being in the results you receive. Why does this work? Because the feedback loop is tuned to your deepest signal. Words, actions, and even thoughts are just surface indicators. The loop reads your subconscious beliefs, your emotional tone, and your moment-to-moment attention. The invisible step is aligning all these factors, intention, belief, emotion, attention, into a unified signal. This is the switch that most never find. Let's break down each part. Intention. Not just wishing for an outcome, but holding a clear, unwavering vision of what you want. Belief. Actually trusting, not just hoping, that the outcome is possible for you. Emotion. Feeling the reality of your desire as if it's here now, not in some distant future. Attention. Focusing your awareness on signals and feedback, not on lack or absence. When these four factors come into alignment, the feedback loop is activated. You move from wishing to transmitting. Your entire system, body, mind, and energy, begins to send a coherent signal, and the universe responds in kind. But most people fragment their signal. They intend one thing, believe another, feel doubt, and focus on what's missing. The result is mixed feedback, confusion, and disappointment. The invisible step is not about perfection, it's about congruence. The closer you get to aligning intention, belief, emotion, and attention, the stronger and faster the feedback becomes. How do you know you've hit the invisible step? You'll notice a shift, sometimes subtle, sometimes dramatic. Synchronicities increase. Resistance drops away. You feel lighter, clearer, more tuned in. The results may not appear instantly, but the feedback becomes unmistakable. The universe starts sending signals, opportunities, and nudges that match your new frequency. There's a science to this too. Quantum physics shows us that observation changes outcomes, but not just any observation. It's the quality and coherence of your observation, how clearly and consistently you hold your attention, that shapes what shows up. The invisible step is about shifting from scattered observation to focused, coherent presence. Let's clarify a myth here. This step isn't about suppressing doubt or forcing positivity. It's about accepting where you are, tuning into the feedback, and gently, consistently bringing yourself into alignment. When you notice a mismatch between your desire and your feelings or beliefs, you don't punish yourself. You use that feedback to adjust, to tune, to bring your system into resonance. This invisible step is not a one-time event. It's a skill, a practice, a way of being. The more you align, the stronger your signal. The stronger your signal, the more precise and immediate the feedback loop becomes. You stop chasing results and start living in a state of receptive awareness. Tuned to the loop, open to feedback, ready to adjust and receive. So, now you know what's missing, but can you see it? The next stage is to make the invisible visible. Next, we will learn how to spot the quantum feedback loop in real life, recognize its signals, and become fluent in the language of feedback. Now that you're learning to spot the feedback loop in your own life, let's open up a new layer of curiosity. What did the ancients know that we forgot? For thousands of years, sages, mystics, and spiritual teachers have hinted at a secret law governing reality. One that matches precisely with the modern understanding of the quantum feedback loop. Their words, symbols, and rituals point to a universal principle, hidden in plain sight, that we can finally decode with fresh eyes. Across cultures, from the Taoist masters of China to the Hermetic alchemists of Egypt, from the Vedic seers of India to the mystics of the Sufi path, there has always been a thread, a teaching about the hidden law of return. You may know it as karma, the golden rule, or simply cause and effect. But beneath the surface, these teachings are describing a dynamic, living feedback system. They all suggest what you send out returns to you not as punishment or reward, but as a mirror, an exact reflection of your state of being. Consider the Tao Te Ching, which speaks of acting without forcing and letting things flow by aligning with the Tao, the fundamental flow of reality. This isn't passive resignation. It's a sophisticated understanding of feedback, an awareness that trying to force an outcome only creates resistance, while true harmony comes from tuning your actions and thoughts to the flow, allowing reality to respond in kind. Or take the Vedic principle of Rita, the cosmic order. Ancient Indian seers taught that when one's thoughts, words, and deeds are in alignment with Rita, reality itself moves to support and reflect that state. When out of alignment, chaos and disorder arise as feedback, not as punishment, but as a nudge to return to resonance with the underlying law. The Sufi mystics spoke of polishing the mirror of the heart. They taught that as you purify your inner state, your intentions, emotions, and awareness, the world reflects back ever more beauty, clarity, and connection. The dirtier the mirror, the more distorted the reflection. The clearer the mirror, the more the loop responds with grace and synchronicity. In the West, the Hermetic axiom, as above, so below, as within, so without, is perhaps the clearest summary of the feedback loop ever written. It reveals that your inner world and the outer world are not two separate realms, but two sides of the same dynamic process. Change the inner signal and the outer feedback changes. Ignore the loop, and you remain stuck in repeating patterns. Why do these teachings matter for you right now? Because they prove that the feedback loop is not a new idea. It's a universal truth, discovered and rediscovered by seekers in every age. When you realize that your life is part of a much larger pattern, a cosmic feedback system recognized by the greatest minds of every civilization, you unlock a new level of confidence and curiosity. You start to trust that every experience, every result, every echo is part of the loop, guiding you toward greater alignment. But there's something even more profound. Ancient wisdom wasn't just philosophical. It was practical. Every tradition offered rituals, meditations, and exercises designed to activate the feedback loop, to bring the invisible step into conscious awareness. Whether it was the practice of non-attachment, mindful presence, prayer, or mantra, these methods were all ways to tune the signal and receive clearer feedback. The danger in our modern age is that we've become obsessed with surface techniques, forgetting the inner alignment those practices were meant to create. We chase hacks and shortcuts, not realizing the ancients were pointing to something far deeper, the secret switch in the loop, the invisible step you've now begun to uncover. So, as you start to spot the quantum feedback loop in daily life, remember you're walking a path that countless seekers have traveled before. Their language may differ, their symbols may seem mysterious, but the core message remains the same. The universe is a living feedback system, and your signal determines your reflection. Prepare yourself, because the next layer is about to get even more fascinating. Now you've seen the modern confusion and glimpsed the timeless wisdom of the ancients. Next, we will bring in the hard science, exploring what the double-slit experiment in quantum physics truly reveals, and why the feedback loop is woven into the very fabric of reality. You've seen how ancient wisdom pointed to the feedback loop, concealed in philosophy and spiritual language. Now it's time to turn our gaze to modern science, to a single experiment that shook the foundations of physics, and reveals the quantum feedback loop in action. The double-slit experiment isn't just a scientific curiosity. It's a window into the way reality itself responds to your signal. Let's break down what actually happened in that legendary physics lab. Scientists fired tiny particles, electrons or photons, at a screen through two parallel slits. If no one was watching, the particles acted like waves, creating an interference pattern on the screen that suggested they were in many places at once. But when someone measured or observed which slit the particle passed through, the pattern changed completely. Now the particles acted like solid objects, choosing one path or the other. What does this tell us about the feedback loop? The act of observation changes the outcome. It's not just that reality is out there, waiting for you to discover it. Reality responds to your awareness. When you observe, measure, or focus on something, you influence the result. This is not just philosophy, it's the most carefully replicated finding in quantum physics. But here's the deeper layer most people miss. It's not simply the act of looking, but the quality of attention, the expectation, and the alignment of the observer that shape the result. Your signal matters. You aren't a passive spectator, you're an active participant. The universe waits for your cue, then collapses possibilities into actual events based on your signal. Now, think back to the invisible step. The double-slit experiment is the laboratory proof that the quantum feedback loop is real. The feedback isn't just philosophical, it's physical. The universe is wired to reflect not just your actions, but your awareness, what you bring your consciousness to, and how you bring it. This isn't limited to high-tech labs. Every thought, every expectation, every focus of attention is a kind of measurement, a signal to the loop. When your awareness is scattered, your results are mixed and confusing. When your awareness is coherent and aligned, the feedback becomes powerful and precise. This is where the double-slit mindset comes in. It's a new way of moving through reality, seeing every situation as a field of possibilities that collapse into actual outcomes based on your signal. Instead of waiting for life to happen, you recognize that life is waiting for your signal to decide what happens. The double-slit experiment shatters the myth of a separate, objective world. Instead, it shows that observer and observed, signal and feedback, are entangled in a living dance. This is why every ancient tradition, and now every cutting-edge physicist, ultimately points to the same truth. Reality is participatory. You are woven into the fabric of the universe, and the feedback loop is your means of communication. But here's where things get even more interesting. Most people use their observation unconsciously, focusing on lack, problems, or outcomes they fear. The loop, always faithful, reflects these signals. But when you become conscious of your role as observer, and align your signal through intention, belief, emotion, and attention, the feedback becomes your greatest ally. The double-slit mindset is not about forcing outcomes, but about tuning your awareness. Ask yourself, where is my attention right now? What reality am I measuring into being? What signal am I sending through my focus and my expectation? The universe is listening and reflecting. Even more mind-bending, the double-slit experiment hints that time itself is flexible. Results aren't just shaped by what you did in the past, but by what you notice, focus on, and expect in the present. The loop is not a straight line, but a network of possibilities, constantly reorganizing itself around your signal. This understanding is transformative. Suddenly, setbacks are feedback, not punishment. Synchronicities are feedback, not accidents. Delays are feedback, not failures. Every event, every pattern, every coincidence is part of the loop, shaped by your conscious and unconscious observation. You're now beginning to see what physicists see, but most never connect to daily life. The universe is not a machine. It's a conversation. Every thought, every observation, every signal you send is answered, in real time, by a change in reality's pattern. You now know the mystic secrets and have glimpsed the scientific proof. But how does the feedback loop show up beyond the lab in the living world? Next, we will follow the trail out into nature and see how mushrooms, forests, and living systems everywhere reveal the quantum feedback loop in action, reminding you that the code of the universe is alive, intelligent, and already inside you. You've seen that the feedback loop isn't just a theory in a physics lab, it's an underlying principle of the universe. But you don't have to look through a microscope or attend a quantum mechanics seminar to witness it. Nature is the ultimate feedback system, showing the quantum loop in action every day all around you. Let's start beneath your feet. The forest floor is alive with networks of mycelium, thread-like fungi that connect trees and plants across vast distances. These fungal networks serve as the internet of the forest, transferring information, nutrients, and even warning signals from one organism to another. When a tree experiences stress, it sends out chemical signals through the mycelium. Other trees receive this feedback and adjust their own chemistry, sometimes boosting their immune response before danger arrives. This is feedback in action. Signals sent, received, and reflected, leading to adaptation and evolution. The system isn't random, it's exquisitely responsive. Every plant, fungus, and animal operates within loops, sending and receiving feedback, adjusting to maintain harmony with its environment. Move above ground and watch a flock of birds wheel through the sky. Each bird responds in real time to the movement of its neighbors, creating a swirling, coordinated dance that looks like one unified mind. This is the feedback loop in motion. Input, response, correction, adjustment, all happening instantaneously. But it's not just the forest or the flock. Your own body is a symphony of feedback loops. Your nervous system senses the world, sending signals to your brain, which sends signals back to your muscles and organs. Every heartbeat, every breath, every sensation is part of a continuous loop, receiving information, processing it, and responding. When you're out of balance, the loop sends pain or discomfort as feedback, nudging you to adjust. The same principle operates in your mind. Thoughts lead to emotions, emotions influence behavior, behavior creates results, and those results reinforce or challenge your thoughts. This is the quantum feedback loop running at every level from the microscopic to the cosmic. Nature is the master teacher here. It doesn't force or control outcomes. Tunes itself, adapting constantly to feedback. When drought hits, roots dig deeper. When predators arrive, herds change course. Everything is tuned to the feedback loop, not trying to dominate but learning to sense, respond, and evolve. Here's the lesson. Your personal feedback loop is not separate from the world's. You are embedded in a network of signals, both giving and receiving. When you align with the loop, when you become aware of feedback, adjust your state, and respond consciously, you step into the flow of life just like the forest, the flock, and the entire living earth. Why does this matter? Because so many people try to force reality, ignore the signals, or blame themselves for failures, rather than recognizing these are simply feedback, nudges from the system to adjust, to learn, to realign. When you embrace feedback the way nature does, resistance disappears. Growth accelerates. You stop struggling against reality and start collaborating with it. This is how the loop supports life. It's not about perfection or static success, but about ongoing conversation, adaptation, and expansion. The more sensitive you become to feedback, the more resilient, creative, and successful you become, because you're always tuning to the real-time signals, just like the most thriving ecosystems on the planet. After seeing feedback in the forest, the body, and the mind, it's clear the quantum feedback loop is not just a theory, it's the fundamental code of life. You've now witnessed feedback in action, but there's a powerful illusion that often blocks this process for humans alone. The illusion of control. Next, we will unravel why trying to force outcomes shuts down the loop, and how surrender, not passivity but true collaborative awareness, unlocks the highest level of quantum feedback in your reality. After seeing how the feedback loop animates every aspect of nature, it's time to shine a light on one of the most persistent and self-defeating habits in human life: the attempt to force outcomes. If the natural world thrives by tuning itself to feedback, why do so many people struggle, stress, and strain, trying to bend reality to their will? The answer lies in the seductive, but ultimately illusory, belief that control guarantees results. In truth, the feedback loop shuts down the moment you start trying to force it. Think of the last time you tried to make something happen through sheer effort alone. Maybe it was pushing for a job, a relationship, or even forcing yourself to be positive. What did you notice? Most likely, the more you pressed, the more things seemed to resist. The harder you tried, the less progress you made. Reality felt like quicksand. The more you struggled, the deeper you sank. This isn't just a feeling. It's a direct reflection of the quantum feedback loop in action. Here's the hidden dynamic. When you try to force an outcome, you're unconsciously sending a signal of distrust. Forcing implies the belief that the loop is broken, that feedback won't come, or that reality won't cooperate unless you personally wrestle it into place. This mindset introduces friction and static. The more you try to grip and control, the more you send out a frequency of fear, doubt, or desperation. The loop, utterly faithful, returns more friction, more obstacles, and more resistance. This illusion of control is especially common in the modern world, where productivity and hustle are celebrated above all else. The work harder, grind more mentality is praised, but it rarely delivers the flow, synchronicity, or fulfillment that people truly seek. The reason is simple. The feedback loop doesn't respond to effort for its own sake. It responds to clarity of signal, to alignment, and to trust in the system itself. Nature never forces. A river doesn't push against the rocks in its path. It finds the path of least resistance, winding around obstacles and reshaping its course as needed. Plants don't anxiously pull their roots through the soil. They grow, adjust, and adapt according to the feedback they receive from light, moisture, and the environment. When something blocks the flow, nature responds not by trying harder, but by tuning itself to the new conditions, shifting and growing in a way that makes the most of what's available. So why do humans keep falling into the trap of force? Because there's a deep-seated fear that if you stop pushing, nothing will happen. Letting go feels risky, as if reality will abandon you the moment you release your grip. But the exact opposite is true. When you stop forcing, you allow the loop to activate. You send out a signal of trust and openness. The system responds, often in ways that are surprising, creative, and perfectly timed. This isn't to say that action is wrong. Action is essential, but only when it's in tune with feedback. Forced action comes from anxiety, while aligned action flows naturally, guided by the signals and results you're receiving in real time. The difference is night and day. In a forced state, you miss feedback because you're so focused on your agenda. In an aligned state, you're listening, adjusting, and responding in partnership with the loop. There's a simple test to know whether you're forcing or flowing. Ask yourself, does this action feel strained, anxious, or desperate? Are you attached to a specific outcome, unwilling to let things unfold? Or are you acting from clarity, calm, and curiosity, open to whatever feedback arises? The first creates static and shuts down the loop. The second activates the feedback system, bringing results that often surpass your imagination. Let's take this insight a step further. When you catch yourself forcing, don't judge or resist it. Instead, see it as feedback, a nudge from the loop that you're out of alignment. Pause, take a breath, and ask, what am I afraid will happen if I stop controlling? What signal am I really sending? Use the discomfort as a signal to realign, to shift from force to trust, from gripping to openness. The paradox is powerful. True influence over reality comes not from control, but from surrendering to the feedback loop and learning to trust its intelligence. When you let go of the need to force, you make space for synchronicity, for unexpected solutions, for creative outcomes that can only arrive when you're in flow with the system. Now you've seen feedback in action, and you understand why forcing doesn't work. But what happens when you simply notice? When you become the observer without trying to force or control? Next, we will explore the observer's dilemma, how the very act of noticing changes everything, and why reality starts to shift in strange and profound ways the moment you become present. You've learned why forcing shuts down the quantum feedback loop. But what happens when you step back, let go of control, and become the observer? This is where the game truly changes, because the moment you start noticing, the entire system begins to rearrange itself in response. Let's return to the core of quantum physics for a moment. In the double-slit experiment, it's not the machine or the apparatus that changes the outcome, but the presence of observation itself. The observer doesn't just watch passively. The very act of noticing collapses a world of possibilities into one actual result. This isn't just a theoretical curiosity. It's a law of the universe. The observer and the observed are inseparable, bound in a feedback loop that is always alive and dynamic. What does this mean for your daily experience? The simple act of becoming aware, without forcing, without controlling, alters the field. Noticing is an act of creation. The more present you are, the more powerfully the feedback loop responds. This is why mindfulness, meditation, and conscious awareness have always been at the heart of transformation traditions around the world. But here's the subtlety. Not all observation is created equal. Mindless, distracted, or judgmental awareness creates static and confusion. Conscious, non-judgmental, and open awareness sends a pure, coherent signal. The feedback loop becomes like a mirror, reflecting your clarity and presence. When you shift from doing to observing, you open yourself to new information, new insights, and new possibilities. Instead of reacting automatically, you create space for feedback to arrive. Patterns and synchronicities become more obvious. Opportunities appear in places you would have overlooked. Resistance starts to dissolve because you are no longer sending out mixed signals of anxiety or need. This is the observer's dilemma. The moment you notice something, you change it. Your presence transforms reality, whether you mean to or not. But most people overlook this power. They rush through life on autopilot, rarely stopping to observe, to listen, to receive. The feedback loop becomes muted or worse, dominated by unconscious beliefs and emotions that keep repeating the same outcomes. To unlock the full potential of the loop, practice the art of conscious noticing. Bring your awareness to your thoughts, feelings, and the signals reality is sending. Notice patterns without judgment. Allow events to unfold without rushing to label them good or bad. Treat every experience as valuable feedback, whether it matches your preferences or challenges your expectations. You'll find that even the act of noticing your own internal state creates a shift. Awareness brings energy and clarity to whatever it touches. Suddenly, emotions that seemed overwhelming lose their grip. Problems that felt unsolvable start to reveal new angles. The feedback loop comes alive, offering guidance, support, and synchronicities that only appear when you are fully present. This is not about being passive or indifferent. The most powerful observers are also the most engaged. They notice everything, and from that noticing, they act with precision and alignment. When you see clearly, you act wisely. When you're aware of feedback, you adjust in real time. Life stops being a struggle and starts to feel like a conversation, a co-creation with the universe. So you stopped forcing and you've learned to notice. What happens next? Reality starts to shift in ways you could never have predicted. The feedback loop responds instantly, reflecting your state and inviting you deeper into the game. Now, let's take this one step further. Next, we will explore the quantum mirror, how life reflects you, even when you're not looking, and how your hidden intentions are revealed in the reality that unfolds before you. You've discovered the power of conscious observation and seen how simply noticing can shift reality. But there's an even deeper layer to the feedback loop, one that most people never see because it works silently in the background. Life is always mirroring you, not just when you pay attention, but especially when you're not looking. This is the quantum mirror at work, reflecting your deepest intentions and unconscious states right back at you. Think about it. How often do you focus intensely on your goals or desires, only to see results that don't line up with what you thought you wanted? It's tempting to believe the universe isn't listening or that you're not doing it right. But the truth is, the feedback loop is picking up every signal, not just the ones you send consciously, but the ones that hum quietly in the background of your mind and emotions. This is where the real magic and the real challenge lies. Your outer world is a precise reflection of your inner world. The beliefs, assumptions, fears, and hopes you hold, especially the ones you aren't aware of, shape the results that show up in your life. Life isn't only responding to your thoughts. It's responding to your overall state, your emotional tone, and the intentions buried beneath the surface. Start to notice the themes and recurring patterns in your life. Maybe you consistently attract similar situations, people, or problems. Maybe certain types of opportunities or obstacles seem to appear over and over, even when you try to make changes. This isn't coincidence. The quantum mirror is reflecting your inner landscape, faithfully and without judgment. It doesn't care about your self-image or your stated desires. It reflects your true signal. Here's the key. This mirroring isn't punishment or reward. It's simply feedback. The universe is holding up a mirror, inviting you to look at what's really going on beneath the surface. If you're willing to see it, you gain an incredible tool for transformation. Every relationship, every job, every repeated scenario is showing you something about your own beliefs, expectations, and unspoken intentions. Let's break it down with an example. Suppose you're trying to manifest abundance, but you keep running into unexpected bills or setbacks. Instead of asking, "Why isn't this working?" ask, "What belief or feeling is being reflected here? Are you secretly expecting things to go wrong? Do you feel unworthy of abundance, even if you say you want it?" The quantum mirror never lies. It faithfully projects what's inside, whether you're aware of it or not. Another example, relationships. If you find yourself meeting the same type of difficult person or facing similar challenges in love or friendship, pause and ask what part of your inner state is being reflected. Are you carrying old wounds, expectations of betrayal, or a sense of unworthiness? The feedback loop will keep mirroring these patterns until you see them, own them, and choose to shift your signal. The beauty of the quantum mirror is that it offers constant, unbiased feedback. You don't have to guess what's running in your subconscious. The evidence is right in front of you, if you're willing to see it. Every experience is a clue, an invitation to upgrade your signal and therefore your results. Remember, the feedback loop doesn't just reflect your positive intentions. It picks up everything: your doubts, your fears, your suppressed emotions. The more honest you are with yourself, the more powerfully you can use the mirror for growth. Avoidance or denial only lead to more repetition. Awareness leads to transformation. The more you engage with the quantum mirror, the more quickly reality responds to your shifts. Change your beliefs, adjust your emotional state, and update your expectations, and you'll notice your outer world evolving to match. This is why inner work is the fastest route to outer change. Observation changes reality, but your hidden intentions are always being reflected, whether you look or not. Now that you've found the mirror, the next skill is learning how to read its signals, how to decode the feedback your life is giving you every day. Next, we will tune into the signal and learn how to read the feedback, so you can turn life's responses into a language you understand and act on with clarity. Now that you recognize life as a mirror, reflecting both your conscious and unconscious states, the question becomes, how do you actually read the feedback? How do you tune into the signals the quantum loop is sending so you can make real, practical changes? Reading feedback isn't just about noticing what's happening. It's about decoding the language of reality, understanding what it's telling you, and knowing how to respond. The first principle of reading feedback is detachment. This doesn't mean you don't care about outcomes. It means you observe results without rushing to judge them as good or bad. When you react emotionally, you cloud the signal. When you stay neutral, curious, and open, you see more clearly what's really being reflected. This mindset creates the space needed for honest insight. Next, start cataloging the recurring patterns, emotions, and synchronicities that show up in your daily life. Keep a mental or physical journal of the data points reality is offering. Did you feel anxious before that difficult conversation? Did an unexpected solution show up after you shifted your attitude? Is there a pattern to when things flow easily versus when they seem blocked? These details are the universe's way of communicating with you. Pay special attention to emotional feedback. Your emotional state is one of the clearest indicators of what you're signaling to the loop. When you feel inspired, energized, or peaceful, you're in resonance with your intentions and beliefs. When you feel tense, fearful, or resistant, your signal is likely distorted. The feedback loop magnifies whatever frequency you're emitting, so emotions are not just side effects, they're primary data. Feedback also comes in the form of synchronicity, those meaningful coincidences that feel like reality is speaking directly to you. When you're aligned, synchronicities multiply. The right people, opportunities, and solutions seem to appear with perfect timing. When you're out of sync, you may notice more delays, miscommunications, or bad luck. Instead of dismissing these as random, start to see them as messages from the loop. Challenges and setbacks are also critical feedback. They don't mean you've failed. They mean the loop is highlighting a misalignment. Ask yourself, what part of my signal needs adjustment? Is there a belief, fear, or expectation that's out of tune with my desire? Treat setbacks as guides, not punishments. The loop is always giving you the information needed to refine your signal. Reading feedback is an art. Sometimes the universe speaks in clear, unmistakable ways. Other times, it whispers through subtle patterns or recurring symbols. Develop your own symbol dictionary. Become aware of what certain events, feelings, or symbols mean to you. Over time, your personal understanding of feedback will grow richer, more nuanced, and more reliable. Most importantly, treat feedback as actionable. It's not enough to notice a pattern. You must be willing to respond. If reality is reflecting scarcity, address the beliefs or feelings driving that signal. If you're receiving support and synchronicity, acknowledge it, express gratitude, and build on that momentum. Every piece of feedback is an invitation to fine-tune your alignment. This process isn't about becoming obsessed with every detail or living in constant analysis. It's about developing a trusting relationship with the feedback loop, knowing that you are always receiving exactly what you need to see right now to move forward. Now you've found the mirror, but can you read its signals? Next, we will explore the hidden sabotage that can lurk within the feedback loop itself. You'll learn to spot the shadow step, the subtle ways you might unknowingly block or distort the feedback, and how to bring even your blind spots into the light for total transformation. You've now learned to recognize feedback and interpret the universe's responses. But sometimes, even with this awareness, results still don't shift, or the feedback you receive feels strangely off. Why does this happen? The answer lies in the shadow step, hidden sabotage operating inside the feedback loop. This is where the feedback gets twisted, not by external circumstances, but by unexamined fears, old patterns, and deeply rooted subconscious programming. Self-sabotage isn't always dramatic or obvious. Most of the time, it hides in the quiet corners of your thoughts, the split-second reactions you brush off, or the feelings you ignore. The shadow step is subtle. It's the hidden no behind your conscious yes. It's when you want something, but a deeper part of you doubts, resists, or fears having it. The loop faithfully amplifies this contradiction, reflecting confusion, mixed results, or repeated setbacks. Begin by looking at your recurring disappointments. Are there goals you set repeatedly, but always seem to fall just out of reach? Do you find yourself close to success, only to make choices that undermine your progress? These are signs the shadow step is active. The feedback loop isn't broken. It's simply reflecting both your stated desires and your hidden fears. This sabotage can take many forms: procrastination, perfectionism, fear of judgment, anxiety about change, or even an old story of unworthiness. The feedback loop magnifies whatever energy you bring. So if a part of you fears success, the loop finds ways to keep you safely in the familiar. If a part of you believes you don't deserve happiness, life brings mirrors that seem to prove it right. Most people try to solve sabotage with more willpower, stricter discipline, or by pushing even harder. But the shadow step can't be forced into submission. Can only be transformed through awareness and compassion. The first act is to become radically honest about what you're truly feeling and believing, not just what you want to believe. This honesty allows you to see the feedback loop as your greatest ally, even when it brings uncomfortable truths. Here's a powerful approach. Whenever you hit a wall or experience repeated setbacks, pause and ask, what hidden message is the feedback loop reflecting right now? What belief or fear could be active beneath the surface? Instead of resisting the discomfort, treat it as valuable data. The shadow step is only dangerous when ignored. Once acknowledged, it can become a catalyst for real change. Sometimes sabotage takes the form of self-criticism or harsh judgment. You might believe you're not enough, too much, or fundamentally flawed. These beliefs send a constant, low-level signal into the loop, and reality obliges by reflecting situations that seem to confirm your doubts. Notice these patterns not as proof of failure, but as signposts showing where your signal needs healing. Remember, the loop does not punish or reward, it simply reflects. When you identify a shadow step, meet it with curiosity and compassion. Ask yourself, is this belief or fear really true? Where did it come from? What would it feel like to let it go? By exploring the roots of your sabotage, you loosen its grip and give yourself space to choose a new signal. Every time you bring a shadow into the light, the feedback changes. Patterns dissolve, results improve, and the loop becomes more responsive and supportive. This process is not about perfection, it's about progress. The more willing you are to see your sabotage, the less power it has to distort your results. Now you can read the feedback and you're learning to spot sabotage. But the next layer of mastery is even more fundamental, uncovering the hidden programming that shapes every feedback loop. Next, we will examine how belief systems act as filters, quietly determining which results you allow and which ones you unconsciously reject. You've identified the shadow step and started to unravel self-sabotage. But what if there's an even deeper mechanism running the show, one so pervasive and silent, it shapes almost every result you receive? This is the realm of belief systems, the hidden programming that filters your entire experience and determines what you perceive, accept, or dismiss from the quantum feedback loop. Belief systems are like invisible operating codes, installed over years of experience, culture, family influence, and personal interpretation. Most of these beliefs are subconscious, running quietly in the background. Yet they have an enormous influence over what the feedback loop brings you. The loop is not just mirroring your conscious desires, it's filtering reality through your core beliefs, delivering results that match what you believe is possible, permissible, or deserved. Think of your beliefs as a set of lenses. If you believe opportunities are scarce, you won't even notice the doors that open right in front of you. If you believe you're unworthy of love, you'll overlook signals of affection and unconsciously seek out rejection. The feedback loop adapts to these filters not because reality is limited, but because your signal is. Begin to notice the automatic thoughts that pop up when you imagine having what you want. Are there doubts, fears, or dismissive voices? Do you find yourself saying, "That could never happen for me?" Or, "I'm not the kind of person who..." These are clues to your belief programming at work. The loop doesn't argue or negotiate, it simply reflects. This hidden programming is why affirmations and visualizations sometimes fall flat. If you say, "I am wealthy," but your core belief is money is hard to get, the feedback loop picks up the stronger signal, the belief, not the words. Results are always filtered through what you truly accept as possible. The good news is beliefs can be updated. The first step is awareness. Begin tracking the beliefs that seem to shape your feedback, especially in areas where you feel stuck or frustrated. Ask yourself, what would someone have to believe to get the results I'm getting? What beliefs might be active here that I haven't questioned? Challenge your limiting beliefs by seeking evidence to the contrary. Notice times when things went well, when opportunities appeared, or when support showed up unexpectedly. These positive glitches in the loop are proof that beliefs are flexible, and new feedback is always available when you shift your filters. Sometimes, beliefs come from childhood experiences or cultural conditioning. You may have inherited ideas about success, relationships, health, or self-worth that no longer serve you. The more you question these beliefs, the more power you reclaim over the loop. Every time you update a belief, you change the filter and the feedback shifts. Don't underestimate the power of identity. If you see yourself as someone who always struggles, the loop will faithfully provide struggles. When you start to see yourself as someone who learns, adapts, and grows, the loop brings more learning and growth. The universe is always listening to the signal of your self-image. You've found sabotage, and now you're uncovering the filters of belief. But there's another powerful influence you must understand: the emotional frequency you broadcast every day. Next, we will explore why the feedback loop is so attuned to your emotions and how shifting your emotional state can amplify or completely transform the results you receive. You've just explored the hidden programming of belief systems, seeing how they filter your reality and shape what you receive from the feedback loop. Now, it's time to bring your awareness to another powerful layer: your emotional frequency. If beliefs are the programming code, emotions are the broadcast signal, the frequency that amplifies, distorts, or colors every message you send to the quantum feedback loop. Emotions are more than fleeting feelings. They're energetic currents that not only affect your inner state but also carry information to the world around you. Ancient traditions have long taught that what you feel, you make real. Modern science now backs this up. Emotions can measurably alter brainwaves, heart rhythms, and even the electromagnetic field around your body. The feedback loop is incredibly sensitive to these energetic broadcasts, responding with uncanny precision to the vibes you emit. Let's break this down. If you're filled with genuine gratitude, excitement, or love, your emotional frequency sends out a signal of abundance, openness, and possibility. The feedback you receive, synchronicities, opportunities, helpful people, often matches this high frequency. On the other hand, if your dominant state is one of fear, frustration, or resentment, the loop mirrors these emotions back to you in the form of obstacles, delays, or conflict. It's easy to overlook the role of emotions because they can feel so transient. Yet your average emotional state over hours or days forms a powerful energetic baseline, setting the tone for the signals you send. This is why attempts to fake it till you make it rarely work if the emotional undercurrent remains negative. The loop isn't tricked by words. It responds to what you genuinely feel. Become a student of your own emotions. Instead of trying to force yourself into positivity, start by honestly acknowledging how you feel. If you're angry, anxious, or discouraged, notice it without judgment. Ask, what is this emotion trying to show me? What feedback is it offering? Emotions are messengers, not enemies. They show you where your signal is congruent or out of alignment with your desires. Cultivate emotional awareness throughout your day. Notice what happens when you shift your mood, how people respond differently, how events unfold, how even small changes in attitude lead to big changes in feedback. Emotional frequency is a living, breathing channel through which the feedback loop communicates. When you raise your emotional baseline, you instantly upgrade the quality of the feedback you receive. Here's another key: your emotions are contagious. The energy you broadcast not only shapes your personal loop, but also influences the feedback loops of those around you. Joy, enthusiasm, and peace uplift environments. Negativity, cynicism, or fear often ripple outward, returning to you through the reactions of others or the overall tone of your day. Practical ways to shift your emotional frequency include mindfulness, breathwork, gratitude journaling, movement, and even conscious music choices. When you feel your mood dip, don't fight it, use it as feedback. What needs attention, release, or expression? The act of listening and responding to your emotions, rather than suppressing or ignoring them, brings you back into alignment with the loop. You've now seen how powerful emotions are in the feedback process. But what about those small, almost invisible signals you send, often without even noticing? Next, we will explore the butterfly effect of micro-intentions and how these tiny moments of focus ripple outward, shaping your daily experience in ways you might never expect. You're now aware that emotional frequency is the energetic language of the feedback loop. But life is not only shaped by your big goals or dominant moods, it's also sculpted by the tiniest signals you send, moment by moment. These are your micro-intentions, the split-second decisions, wishes, fears, and judgments that quietly ripple out into the quantum field, producing effects far larger than you realize. Micro-intentions are everywhere. They're the thought you have before answering a call, the quiet hope you send into a room before walking in, or the doubt that flickers across your mind before making a choice. Each one might seem insignificant, but together they form a powerful undercurrent that influences your actions, interactions, and the feedback the loop returns to you. This is the butterfly effect at the quantum level. Small, often unconscious intentions create larger and larger ripples as they interact with the feedback loop. Imagine starting your morning with a single, subtle thought. Today will probably be difficult. Without realizing it, you prime your awareness to notice challenges, react with impatience, and signal stress to others. The loop mirrors these micro-intentions, filling your day with evidence that supports your original vibe. Now flip the script. When you choose a micro-intention like curiosity, gratitude, or openness, even for a few seconds, you invite a different kind of feedback. You may notice helpful strangers, smoother experiences, or a string of unexpected positives that build on each other. This isn't just about positive thinking. It's about sending thousands of tiny, high-frequency signals that accumulate and shape the loop's response. Start becoming conscious of your micro-intentions. Notice the mood you bring to everyday actions. Making coffee, sending an email, greeting a neighbor. Are you operating on autopilot? Or are you choosing to infuse small moments with intention? Even the briefest pause to set a positive micro-intention can radically alter the feedback you receive. Micro-intentions are especially powerful in social situations. The energy you project, whether it's judgment, openness, impatience, or kindness, is sensed by others and instantly influences the feedback loop within relationships, teams, and communities. Every moment is a chance to signal the universe, I'm ready for a different kind of response. Keep a daily record of micro-intentions and the feedback they bring. Did a small act of kindness open a new connection? Did a flash of impatience create tension? Over time, you'll begin to see patterns. Tiny choices add up, and the loop is always responding. This awareness empowers you to stop waiting for big breakthroughs and start working with the most accessible point of leverage, the present moment. Micro-intentions make you a conscious creator of your daily reality, transforming your life not with grand gestures, but with a steady stream of mindful, deliberate signals. Emotions set the tone, but it's your micro-intentions that determine the shape and direction of each day's feedback. Next, we will unlock a powerful practice for capturing these signals as they happen, learning how to use a feedback journal to document and decode the quantum whispers that can otherwise pass by unnoticed. You've learned that micro-intentions are shaping your daily reality, often in subtle but powerful ways. But how do you actually capture these signals as they happen? How can you document, decode, and learn from the quantum whispers that guide your life? This is where the feedback journal becomes your most valuable tool, a practice that transforms vague insights into concrete awareness, giving you a front-row seat to your own feedback loop in action. A feedback journal isn't just another diary or to-do list. It's a living record of the dialogue between your inner world and the universe's response. By writing down your micro-intentions, emotional states, and the feedback you notice each day, you create a map of your signal's journey and the results it generates. Over time, patterns emerge that would otherwise stay hidden. Here's how to begin. Start each morning by setting a conscious intention, no matter how small. It might be a desire to experience ease, to approach work with curiosity, or to remain open in your interactions. Write it down, simple, honest, and specific. As you move through the day, take quick notes on what you notice. Emotions, synchronicities, unexpected events, and even setbacks. Don't judge or censor your observations. If something feels like a coincidence, record it. If a small mood shift leads to a new opportunity, jot it down. If you encounter resistance, describe both your reaction and the circumstances. The feedback journal is about gathering data, not drawing conclusions too quickly. At the end of each day, reflect on the loop. Did the feedback you received seem to match your intentions? Or was there a disconnect? Were there hidden emotions or micro-intentions that might have colored the results? Did you notice any shadow steps, moments where sabotage or limiting beliefs appeared in the feedback? Write these down too, without self-judgment. Over time, your journal becomes a laboratory for self-discovery. Patterns start to reveal themselves. You'll see how a morning intention of patience can lead to a day of smooth interactions, or how a lingering doubt shows up as a missed opportunity. The journal helps you become a detective of your own quantum experience, transforming vague feelings into actionable insight. You might notice that certain environments, people, or activities consistently amplify or distort your feedback. Maybe certain times of day trigger specific emotions. Perhaps certain intentions always seem to work, while others create static. This level of detail gives you the power to consciously adjust your signal, refining your state of being to receive clearer, more desirable results. The most profound value of the feedback journal is that it brings unconscious patterns into the light. You can't change what you can't see. By tracking micro-intentions, emotional frequencies, beliefs, and results, you make the invisible visible. The more data you gather, the easier it becomes to identify and shift the signals that shape your life. Don't underestimate the power of small details. Sometimes, a pattern emerges from something as simple as recurring colors, songs, or words in your environment. Sometimes, the loop delivers feedback through dreams or gut feelings. Write it all down. The feedback journal is a treasure map, Each note is a clue, leading you toward deeper alignment and greater mastery. Now you've learned the tool to catch microfeedback in real time before you miss it. But as you become an expert feedback detective, a new challenge appears. Should you act or surrender? The loop demands both, and understanding when to let go and when to move forward is the paradox at the heart of manifestation. Next, we will explore this mystery and discover why the most successful co-creators dance between surrender and action in perfect rhythm. As you begin to journal your feedback and see patterns unfold, a new question naturally arises. When is it time to act and when is it time to surrender? This is the central paradox of manifestation, a riddle that confounds even the most dedicated seekers. The quantum feedback loop seems to require both letting go and stepping forward, both openness and initiative. But how can you do both at once? Let's start by unraveling a common misunderstanding. Many teachings present surrender and action as opposites, as if you must choose between passivity and relentless effort. In truth, the loop operates at its highest level when you learn to blend the two, surrendering attachment to outcome while taking aligned, inspired action based on the feedback you receive. Surrender, in this context, doesn't mean giving up or becoming indifferent. It means releasing the need to control every detail, trusting that the loop will reflect your true signal, and remaining open to how and when the result will appear. Surrender is a state of relaxed confidence, a willingness to allow reality to surprise you and to receive feedback, even if it differs from your plans. Action, on the other hand, is about responding to feedback with clarity and purpose. It's not about forcing or micromanaging, but about moving in the direction that feels resonant, exciting, or guided. Aligned action flows from your intention and is shaped by the feedback you're getting, not by rigid agendas or fearful reactions. Here's the paradox. When you cling tightly to outcome, you create resistance in the loop. Your signal is filled with anxiety, neediness, or frustration, and the feedback matches. But when you let go, when you surrender your attachment, you free the loop to deliver results in ways you never could have predicted. At the same time, sitting back and doing nothing isn't the answer. The loop responds to movement, to willingness, to taking the next step as it becomes clear. One way to master this dance is to listen closely to the feedback. Are you feeling stuck, frustrated, or exhausted by your efforts? This might be a sign that it's time to step back, let go, and create space for the loop to work. Are you noticing opportunities, nudges, or synchronicities? That's the loop inviting you to act, to step forward, to participate in the unfolding process. Practice alternating between surrender and action. Set your intention clearly, release attachment to how it must happen, and then move forward with the actions that feel aligned. If you encounter resistance, pause and check your signal. Is it time to rest and trust, or to adjust your approach? Use your feedback journal to track these shifts and refine your ability to flow between surrender and inspired action. This approach is both empowering and liberating. You're no longer trying to make results happen by brute force, nor are you waiting passively for miracles. Instead, you become a co-creator, listening and responding, dancing with the loop. The most extraordinary results often arrive when you've taken aligned action and then surrendered, creating space for reality to deliver in its own time and form. Surrender and action aren't enemies. They're partners. Mastering this paradox puts you in harmony with the deepest laws of the feedback loop. Now you're tracking feedback, but the real magic begins when the universe starts talking back in unmistakable ways. Next, we will enter the realm of synchronicity, discovering how the universe signals its response and how you can recognize and ride the surge of meaningful coincidence that follows. Now you're tracking your feedback, practicing the dance between surrender and action. If you've made it this far, you're likely to experience a phenomenon that surprises and delights even the most skeptical: the surge of synchronicity. Suddenly, the universe seems to talk back. Meaningful coincidences multiply. Answers show up right when you need them. The quantum feedback loop, once silent or unpredictable, becomes unmistakably alive. Synchronicity isn't random luck or wishful thinking. It's what happens when your inner signal is clear, your actions are aligned, and you've released attachment to rigid outcomes. The loop responds by weaving together events, people, and resources in ways that logic can't always explain. Jung describes synchronicity as a causal connection, but from the perspective of the feedback loop, it's simply the system becoming highly responsive, delivering results through pathways you never could have planned. Start noticing the patterns. You think about someone and they reach out. A problem that seemed impossible resolves itself through an unexpected conversation. You have a sudden insight, and within hours, external circumstances shift to support it. These moments aren't random. They're feedback, the universe's way of saying, yes, you're aligned. Here's your signal, reflected back with clarity. Many people overlook or dismiss synchronicities because they seem too small or too perfect to be real. Others brush them off as chance. But those who actively engage with the quantum feedback loop begin to see synchronicity as confirmation, a sign that their frequency is resonating with the wider field of possibilities. There's a cumulative effect. The more you notice and acknowledge synchronicities, the more they seem to appear. Your awareness amplifies the signal, creating a virtuous cycle. The loop becomes more responsive because you're in dialogue with it, not just sending out intentions but also receiving the universe's replies. Use your feedback journal to record these moments. Even the smallest synchronicity is evidence that the loop is live and interactive. Over time, you'll begin to trust the process more deeply, knowing that you're never working alone. The universe is always signaling back, responding to your state of being with creative precision. But there's a subtle challenge here. As synchronicity increases, it can be tempting to take it for granted, or to demand even bigger signs as proof you're on the right track. The loop doesn't play favorites. It simply reflects your openness and awareness. Treat each synchronicity with gratitude and curiosity, not entitlement. Let it be a reminder to stay present, to trust the process, and to continue refining your signal. Remember, meaningful coincidence isn't just about positive events. Sometimes, a perfectly timed detour or delay is the feedback you need. Synchronicity can also arrive through challenges, not just opportunities. The key is to see every twist of fate as a message, sometimes confirming your alignment, sometimes nudging you to adjust your course. Once you surrender and act, weird things start happening, not by accident but by design. The surge of synchronicity signals that your feedback loop is active, creative, and available. Now, it's time to look at one of the most misunderstood forms of feedback, the setback. Next, we will reveal why your biggest challenges and obstacles are actually encoded gifts from the loop, essential to your growth, and perhaps the most valuable feedback you'll ever receive. The surge of synchronicity is thrilling, but what about the moments when everything goes sideways? Setbacks, obstacles, and failures can feel like the ultimate feedback loop shutdown. Yet, in the language of the quantum field, these blockbusters are often the most concentrated, meaningful signals you'll ever get. They're not proof of failure, but invitations to upgrade your signal, align more deeply, and receive your next level of results. It's easy to appreciate feedback when it arrives as support or opportunity, but the loop is just as precise and just as generous when it brings you face to face with your limitations, blind spots, or unhealed wounds. The blockbuster principle is simple. Your biggest setbacks contain the biggest clues. They're reality's way of highlighting what you most need to see in order to move forward. Start by reframing failure. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" ask, "What is the feedback here? What is this situation revealing about my beliefs, emotions, actions, or micro-intentions?" The most challenging moments strip away your filters, exposing the signal you're truly sending. The feedback loop doesn't punish, but it does reveal with absolute honesty where you're out of sync with your desires. Often, setbacks are the loop's way of pushing you out of comfort zones or stale patterns. When something falls apart, it creates space for something better aligned to appear. The pain or frustration you feel is a signal. There's an upgrade available, if you're willing to see what's really going on. Sometimes, the universe has to get your attention by making the familiar uncomfortable enough that you're willing to grow. Use your feedback journal during tough times. Record not just the facts, but your emotions, thoughts, and stories about the setback. Look for the beliefs that are being challenged. Ask, how could this be a gift in disguise? What new action, perspective, or surrender is being called for here? The sooner you look for the feedback, the faster you transmute the energy of the setback into growth. There's a powerful alchemy at work here. Many people can trace their biggest breakthroughs to moments when nothing was working, when the old approach failed and a new, deeper alignment was forged. Setbacks force you to clarify what you want, to face uncomfortable truths, and to make bold new choices. The feedback loop, far from abandoning you, is working overtime to help you evolve. One way to shift your relationship with setbacks is to look for the pattern. Are certain obstacles repeating? Is there a theme to your challenges? The loop will keep reflecting the same lesson until it's integrated. What seems like bad luck is often a sign you're ready for the next upgrade, if you're willing to read the message and respond. Setbacks are also a chance to practice surrender and trust. Sometimes the worst thing that could happen becomes the door to the best outcome. The more you view obstacles as encoded feedback, the less you resist, and the faster you move through difficulty into clarity and flow. Synchronicities flow, but what about those huge setbacks? Prepare to see obstacles as encoded feedback. Now, you've learned from obstacles. Next, we will discover how to reboot your entire feedback system instantly, turning any moment into a fresh start and restoring your connection to the quantum loop with intention and power. You've learned how even setbacks are encoded gifts from the feedback loop, each one urging you toward greater clarity and alignment. But sometimes, after a string of mixed signals, tough breaks, or frustrating patterns, you need a way to clear the slate, a true reboot of your quantum feedback system. The good news is that this is not only possible, it can happen in seconds. The key is learning how to reset your loop with intention, presence, and a willingness to receive something new. Why does the feedback loop sometimes seem stuck or resistant to change? It's often because your signal is clouded by old emotions, outdated beliefs, or the residue of yesterday's disappointments. These linger in your energetic field, coloring every new intention with yesterday's static. To reset the loop, you must clear out the noise and bring yourself fully into the present moment, where all true power resides. The fastest way to reboot is to pause everything, physically and mentally. Step away from what you're doing, take several slow, conscious breaths, and bring your awareness to right now. Notice your body, your surroundings, and the sensations you're experiencing. Let go of trying to figure out, fix, or force anything. Simply become aware. Next, acknowledge whatever is present without judgment. If you feel frustrated, anxious, or doubtful, admit it honestly to yourself. If your mind is spinning, just observe. This act of acceptance dissolves resistance, making room for a new signal to arise. The loop can only reflect what you are willing to see. By acknowledging your true state, you open the door for new feedback. Once you're present and honest, ask yourself, what do I want to experience now, regardless of what's happened before? Set a fresh intention, not as a desperate plea, but as a gentle signal. You might say, I choose clarity, or I'm open to support, or simply, I allow the best next step to reveal itself. The power is in the openness. When you're no longer carrying the baggage of yesterday's feedback, the loop becomes instantly more responsive. This reset is like refreshing your browser or restarting a computer. Old programs pause. Static drops away. A new level of receptivity appears. Sometimes the shift is immediate. A sudden sense of relief, a solution appearing from nowhere, or a burst of energy to act in a new way. Other times, the evidence builds quietly, as new feedback arrives over hours or days. Use this feedback reboot whenever you notice yourself stuck in loops of frustration or confusion. It's especially powerful after setbacks, conflicts, or emotional storms. Don't wait for a crisis. Treat the reboot as regular feedback hygiene, a way to keep your loop fresh and your signal strong. Over time, this practice becomes automatic. You'll recognize the early signs of static or misalignment and respond quickly, restoring flow and clarity before old patterns take hold. This is the true power of working with the quantum feedback loop. No matter what has happened before, you always have the ability to reset, to choose again, and to invite new results. You've learned from obstacles. Now, discover how to reboot your entire feedback system instantly. Next, we will talk about the art of the quantum request, how to ask the universe for what you want in a way that the feedback loop can actually hear and respond to, unlocking a whole new level of creative partnership. After a feedback reboot, you stand at a powerful threshold. The static of old patterns has faded. Your signal is clear. Now, it's time to send out a fresh request to the quantum field, one that the feedback loop will recognize and respond to with precision. But here's a truth often missed. There's a wrong way and a quantum way to make your request. The difference can determine whether your loop answers with clarity, confusion, or silence. The quantum request is not about pleading, bargaining, or issuing ultimatums to the universe. It's about sending a signal that is clear, coherent, and aligned at every level: thought, belief, emotion, and expectation. The most common mistake is to ask for something while simultaneously doubting, fearing, or expecting disappointment. The feedback loop responds to your deepest frequency, not your words. Start with clarity. What do you really want? Not just the surface desire, but the deeper feeling or experience it represents. Instead of, "I want more money," ask, "I want to feel secure, free, or inspired." Instead of, "I want this specific job," you might tune your request to, "I am open to meaningful work where my gifts are valued." The clearer you are about the essence of your desire, the easier it is for the loop to bring you matching feedback. Now check your alignment. Pause and notice. Do you truly believe this is possible? Is there a sense of yes in your body, or do you feel tension and doubt? If doubts arise, don't ignore them. Acknowledge them, and gently remind yourself that you're allowed to desire and receive what you seek. If the feeling of lack is strong, shift your request from "I need" to "I am open to receiving." The loop responds best to openness, not desperation. Add emotion. Feel your request as if it's already true. Allow gratitude, joy, or relief to bubble up, even for a moment. Emotions carry your signal further and faster into the feedback loop than words alone. If you can't summon the feeling right away, don't fake it. Just relax and trust that your willingness is enough to start the process. Finally, let go of the how and when. The quantum request is about partnership, not control. You set the direction, but the loop handles the details. Trust that your role is to send the signal. Reality's role is to deliver the feedback. The most spectacular results often arrive through unexpected channels, so keep your mind and heart open to surprise. Practice this process as often as needed. Whenever you notice confusion or static, pause, reset, and make your request again. Each time a bit clearer, more honest, and more relaxed. Over time, you'll see the feedback loop respond with increasing speed and accuracy. Opportunities will appear, obstacles will melt, and synchronicities will accelerate. After the reset comes the ask, "But did you know there's a wrong way and a quantum way to request?" Next, we will look at the hidden law of non-attachment, why letting go of outcomes is the unseen accelerator of the feedback loop, and how clinging to a result can block the very response you desire. After learning the art of the quantum request, you may feel a surge of anticipation. You've cleared your signal, aligned your belief and emotion, and sent your request into the feedback loop. Now comes the most counterintuitive and transformative move: letting go of the outcome. This act, often overlooked or misunderstood, is the unseen accelerator that makes the loop work with extraordinary speed and power. Why is letting go so critical? The answer is simple but profound. When you cling to a specific outcome, you send a signal of lack, anxiety, or impatience into the loop. This tension introduces static, which blocks the very results you seek. The loop faithfully reflects this state, not your wish. But when you release attachment, when you trust the process, accept whatever feedback arises, and remain open to surprise, you create space for the universe to deliver in ways better than you could have planned. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means you hold your desire lightly, without clutching or desperation. You know what you want, you've asked clearly, and now you step back to let the loop do its work. This space, this relaxed expectancy, acts like a magnet for synchronicity, flow, and creative solutions. The universe loves a vacuum, When you let go, you make room for new feedback to rush in. Notice your own patterns. After making a request, do you find yourself obsessing over how and when it will happen? Do you replay conversations, check your phone, or analyze signs, hoping for instant confirmation? Each time you check or worry, you send a mixed signal, a blend of desire and doubt. The loop picks up on the strongest frequency, usually the anxiety or impatience, and reflects that back with more waiting or uncertainty. Practice letting go by shifting your focus. After you've asked, turn your attention to something else, preferably something that brings you joy, peace, or engagement. Trust that your signal has been received. Trust that the feedback will arrive in the right time and form. This act of trust is not passive. It's a dynamic signal that says, I am ready and willing to receive, however it shows up. When you find yourself getting anxious about results, use it as a cue to reset. Breathe, reconnect with your sense of trust, and remind yourself that your role is to send the signal, not to manage the outcome. Life's most miraculous feedback often appears when you least expect it, when you're relaxed, unattached, and genuinely open. There's a hidden freedom in letting go. You release the burden of control and allow space for possibility. This is where the feedback loop moves fastest, bypassing resistance and delivering responses that match not just your request, but your state of openness and trust. You've made your request. Now you see why clinging to the result kills your feedback loop. Next, we will unlock the secret of heart-mind coherence, the signal booster that dramatically amplifies the power of your feedback, and why aligning these two inner forces is the game-changer science and wisdom traditions both celebrate. Letting go is a powerful accelerator, but what if there were a way to amplify your signal even more? This is where heart-mind coherence enters the picture, a state where your thoughts, emotions, and physical energy synchronize into a single, powerful broadcast. Science has shown, and wisdom traditions have always taught, that when your heart and mind work together, the feedback loop becomes more responsive than ever before. Heart-mind coherence is more than just a feeling of calm. It's a physiological state where your brain waves and heart rhythms become synchronized, producing measurable shifts in your body's electromagnetic field. Researchers have found that when you cultivate this state, often through focused breathing, gratitude, or compassion, your body enters optimal performance mode. But even more astonishing, your signal to the quantum field grows stronger, clearer, and more magnetic. Why is this so effective? The heart has its own intelligence, a field of awareness that communicates with the brain and the body. When your mind is racing but your heart is anxious, the signals you send are mixed and weak. But when your thoughts and emotions are in harmony, the signal is unified. The feedback loop recognizes this alignment and responds with synchronicities, solutions, and flow. You can create heart-mind coherence in minutes. Try this. Pause, close your eyes, and place your hand on your heart. Slow your breath, and recall a feeling of appreciation, love, or gratitude. Let the feeling grow, then bring your current desire or intention into this space. As your mind focuses and your heart softens, notice the shift, a sense of calm, clarity, and readiness. This is coherence, and your feedback loop immediately senses the upgrade. Bring this practice into daily life, especially before making requests or taking inspired action. The more often you align your heart and mind, the easier it becomes to maintain this state, even in challenging situations. You'll notice not only greater peace and confidence, but also more immediate positive feedback from the world around you. When you reach heart-mind coherence, obstacles seem smaller and solutions appear more easily. Relationships become smoother. You feel guided, rather than lost or conflicted. This is the signal booster the loop responds to most eagerly. Letting go is tough, but heart and mind alignment supercharges your feedback loop. Next, we will move to the art of embodiment, living as if your desire is real before any evidence appears, and watching how the feedback transforms when you become a living signal for your new reality. You've seen how heart-mind coherence boosts your signal and transforms your feedback. Now, it's time to take your alignment off the meditation cushion and into every moment of your life. This is the art of embodiment, living as if your desire is already true, behaving and feeling in alignment with your goal, even before it appears. It's not make-believe or pretense. It's a deliberate signal that activates the feedback loop in profound ways. Why is embodiment so powerful? The feedback loop is always tuning to your dominant state, not just your fleeting thoughts or isolated affirmations. When you embody your intention, when your actions, choices, and feelings match the reality you desire, you become a living broadcast of that new signal. The universe, always listening, reflects back confirmation, resources, and opportunities to support the version of you that's already real on the inside. This is more than acting as if in a superficial way. It's about identifying the qualities, habits, and emotions you'd naturally express if your goal had already manifested. Ask yourself, how would I move through my day? What would I say yes to or walk away from? What emotions would dominate if I were already living my desired reality? The key is to generate these feelings and behaviors now, not as a trick, but as a true shift in identity and energy. When you embody your goal, you send a consistent signal through the loop. The feedback becomes immediate. You notice synchronicities, creative ideas, supportive people, and even subtle changes in how you're treated. Old doubts lose their grip because your actions confirm a deeper belief. This is already who I am. The universe can't help but respond. Here's a practical exercise. Choose one area where you want new feedback. Identify a single action or habit that your future self would do naturally. Start small. Maybe it's how you organize your workspace, the way you speak about yourself, or the boundaries you hold in relationships. Practice this daily and notice how your external results begin to mirror your internal state. Don't worry about doing it perfectly. Embodiment is a practice, not a performance. There will be moments when old patterns surface or you feel disconnected from your desired state. Use these as opportunities to realign, not as reasons to judge yourself. The more often you return to embodiment, the more your feedback loop reinforces the change, until living as if becomes simply living. With coherence unlocked, you're living as if your desire is real. Next, we will see how others, friends, family, colleagues, and even strangers impact your feedback loop for better or worse, and how you can harness social feedback to amplify your results or shield your signal from negativity. You're now in full embodiment, consistently sending clear signals into the quantum feedback loop. But you're not doing it in isolation. Every person you interact with is part of your feedback environment, either amplifying your new frequency or pulling you back into old patterns. Social feedback is a powerful, often underestimated force, one that can accelerate your results or sabotage your progress. Why does social feedback matter so much? Humans are inherently social beings. We pick up on the emotions, beliefs, and expectations of those around us, often subconsciously adjusting our own signals to fit in, avoid conflict, or seek approval. The feedback loop isn't just responding to your individual vibe. It's also reflecting the collective energy of your closest relationships and communities. Start to notice the influence of others on your state. After spending time with certain people, do you feel energized, hopeful, and inspired? Or do you feel drained, doubtful, or stuck? These shifts are feedback, showing you how social energy is amplifying or distorting your signal. It's important to understand that you can't always control your environment, but you can become more intentional about your interactions. Surround yourself with people who reflect the qualities you're cultivating, whether that's optimism, creativity, resilience, or support. Limit exposure to chronic negativity, drama, or those who constantly doubt your vision. If you can't avoid them entirely, develop strategies to hold your own frequency, such as setting boundaries or using brief resets throughout your day. Social feedback is also a mirror. The way others treat you, respond to your ideas, or reflect your self-worth can offer valuable information about your own signal. If you notice patterns of criticism, dismissal, or rejection, ask what part of your vibe might be attracting or tolerating that energy. Conversely, if you start receiving more appreciation, support, and opportunity, recognize it as confirmation that your embodiment is working. Amplifying your loop with social feedback isn't about people-pleasing or conforming. It's about conscious resonance, choosing to invest in relationships that support your desired state, and courageously stepping back from those that consistently lower your frequency. Sometimes, This means outgrowing old connections or being the signal booster for a group that's ready to rise with you. The most powerful transformation happens in supportive communities, where everyone is committed to growth and positive feedback. These relationships become echo chambers of possibility, helping you sustain embodiment and accelerate your results far beyond what you could do alone. You're in full embodiment, but now you know how friends and critics can shape the feedback you receive. Next, we will take the conversation online, exploring how your digital interactions and algorithms act as extensions of the loop, and how to curate your virtual environment for the highest signal clarity and creative return. If your physical environment and social circles shape your quantum feedback loop, consider how much your digital life amplifies this effect. Every day, you interact with online spaces, social media feeds, algorithmic suggestions, and group chats. All of these channels act as powerful mirrors and megaphones for your signal, reflecting and reinforcing your state back to you, often more rapidly and with greater intensity than anything offline. Have you noticed how a single search or click can suddenly flood your feeds with similar content, or how the tone of online conversations, whether hopeful or cynical, seems to affect your mood long after you log off? These are digital echoes, the quantum feedback loop rendered through algorithms, communities, and digital habits. The more attention and energy you give to certain topics, personalities, or emotional tones online, the more the feedback loop and the algorithms that amplify it serve you more of the same. Your digital footprint is not just passive consumption. Every like, comment, share, or scroll is a micro-intention sent into the digital universe. The feedback loop here is lightning fast. Negativity attracts more negativity, curiosity attracts more inspiration, fear attracts more noise. If you start the day reading headlines about crisis, your digital world quickly amplifies anxiety. If you seek out stories of creativity, gratitude, or solution-oriented thinking, the loop delivers more of those as well. Begin to notice how your digital environment influences your offline reality. Are you unconsciously tuning into fear, outrage, or lack? Or are you cultivating digital spaces that align with your values and vision? You have more control than you think. Curate your feeds, mute or unfollow sources that lower your vibe, and intentionally seek out accounts, forums, and communities that inspire, educate, or uplift. Pay special attention to how you show up online. Every interaction is both a signal and a reflection. Are you contributing to the energy you wish to see in your life, or are you amplifying patterns you'd rather release? The feedback loop doesn't distinguish between digital and physical. It's all part of your field, all influencing what you receive. If you find yourself caught in digital echo chambers, use this as feedback. It's an invitation to diversify your inputs, question your habits, and make conscious choices about what and who you engage with online. Remember, the digital loop is as real as any other, and the more mindfully you navigate it, the clearer your overall feedback becomes. If people shape the loop, what about your digital world? Now you can see how algorithms and online interactions mirror you. Next, we will address a deeper level of feedback, the recurring patterns, those Groundhog Day moments where you feel stuck in repeating cycles. These quantum blocks are your next gateway to freedom. So far, you've explored feedback in your relationships, your digital life, and your environment. But what about the stubborn patterns that just won't shift? No matter how much you change your mindset, your habits, or your intentions. These are the infamous quantum blocks, the deeply ingrained cycles that feel like déjà vu, always coming back in a new disguise. Understanding and dissolving these patterns is one of the most powerful upgrades you can bring to your feedback loop. Quantum blocks aren't just annoying coincidences. They're persistent feedback loops stuck on repeat, broadcasting an old signal and faithfully reflecting it until it's truly resolved. This might show up as recurring conflicts in relationships, chronic financial challenges, repeated health issues, or even the same self-doubt cycling through new circumstances. The details may change, but the theme remains. Why do these blocks persist? Because there's usually a core belief, emotion, or unresolved experience at their root. Often, these patterns began as coping mechanisms, ways to stay safe, win approval, or avoid pain. But over time, they harden into subconscious programs that keep signaling the same frequency, regardless of your conscious intentions. The first step to dissolving quantum blocks is radical honesty. Notice the stories you tell yourself about why things never change. Journal the details of your most persistent patterns. What triggers them? How do you feel when they show up? What actions do you take or avoid? As a result, these patterns aren't punishments, they're persistent teachers, pointing you to the exact place your signal needs an upgrade. Instead of fighting blocks, approach them with curiosity. Ask, what belief or emotion is being reflected here again and again? What lesson have I not fully integrated? What am I avoiding feeling or admitting? The feedback loop will keep delivering these cycles until you are willing to address their root cause. When you spot a block, pause and reset. Use the same techniques you've practiced: breath, presence, feedback journaling, and the heart-mind coherence process. Affirm that you're open to seeing and shifting the root pattern, not just the surface behavior. Sometimes, simply acknowledging the true source of a block is enough to begin dissolving it. Other times, deeper work, such as therapy, energy work, or new supportive habits, may be needed. Quantum blocks are not evidence of failure. They are the most persistent feedback you can receive. A sign you're ready for a new level of awareness and freedom. Every time you dissolve a block, you open up space in the loop for new possibilities, greater flow, and richer synchronicity. Digital or real, stuck patterns emerge. Now you know how to hunt and dissolve those repeating feedback loops. Next, we will clean house with a feedback detox, clearing the static and noise so your signal and results can become stronger and purer than ever before. You've seen how repeating patterns, quantum blocks, can keep you trapped in cycles no matter how much you wish for change. Now, it's time to take deliberate action to clear out the interference and static that cloud your signal. This is your feedback detox, a conscious process of cleansing your mind, environment, and habits so that the feedback loop can reflect back your intentions with purity and strength. Feedback detox isn't about chasing perfection or escaping the challenges of life. It's about creating a clean internal and external space where your new intentions and upgraded beliefs can actually take root. Static comes from unresolved emotions, cluttered spaces, toxic relationships, negative self-talk, and even the non-stop noise of the digital world. The more static you clear, the more direct and powerful your feedback becomes. Begin your detox with your inner world. Set aside quiet time each day to check in with yourself. Ask, what emotions, thoughts, or worries are clouding my signal right now? Don't rush to fix them, simply acknowledge them. Journaling, breathwork, or meditation are powerful ways to process and release lingering noise. Next, look at your physical environment. Clear away clutter from your workspace, bedroom, and any area where you spend significant time. Notice how your energy shifts when you clean or organize. The feedback loop responds quickly to physical change, often sending new clarity, motivation, or opportunity as soon as you create open space. Socially, evaluate which relationships and conversations are supportive and which consistently drain you. This doesn't mean cutting people off coldly, but it does mean setting clear boundaries and choosing to invest your energy where it's valued and reciprocated. Notice how even brief contact with certain people can affect your mood and clarity. Protect your signal. Digitally, unfollow or mute sources that trigger anxiety, comparison, or negativity. Replace them with feeds, groups, or newsletters that nourish your intentions and inspire creative thinking. Remember, every click and scroll shapes your feedback environment. Detox your devices, your inbox, your group chats. Give yourself the gift of digital silence whenever possible. Regularly check your own self-talk and beliefs. Replace old, "I can't," or "it's always like this" narratives with open-ended curiosity and possibility. Notice when you slip into habits of complaint or blame, they're simply signals that your feedback loop is craving an upgrade. The effects of feedback detox are immediate. You'll notice sharper intuition, lighter moods, and increased synchronicity. The static fades and the loop becomes clear, reliable, and direct. You'll begin to trust your signals more deeply and feel empowered to course correct whenever noise creeps back in. Now you've cleared the clutter: mind, body, digital, and social. Your feedback loop is cleaner, stronger, and ready for transformation. Next, we will explore those click moments. The instant feedback upgrades where everything aligns and the results arrive faster and more clearly than you ever thought possible. After detoxing your signal and environment, you're primed for what many describe as a click moment. That sudden, almost electric shift when the feedback loop snaps into place and results show up with stunning clarity and speed. These moments are not rare accidents. They are natural outcomes of consistent practice, alignment, and willingness to act on the signals you receive. What exactly is a click moment? It's the instant when all your scattered signals line up. Your belief, emotion, intention, and action converge, and the feedback loop responds immediately. It might be a job offer after months of searching, a breakthrough conversation, a creative surge, or even an unexpected resolution to a long-standing problem. You'll know it by the feeling: relief, excitement, and a sense that something just shifted. Click moments can't be forced, but they can be invited. The more you detox your inner and outer world, embody your intentions, and stay present to feedback, the more likely you are to experience these quantum leaps. The key is readiness. Click moments happen when you are both open to receive and prepared to respond. You're not pushing or waiting. You're simply available for alignment. Sometimes a click moment is triggered by a tiny change, a new thought, an act of forgiveness, a decision to let go of an old grudge, or even a single act of courage. Suddenly, the feedback loop floods you with results that had been building up behind the scenes, waiting for your signal to clear. It's common to look back and realize the click moment was preceded by weeks or months of subtle shifts. Journaling, boundary setting, detoxing, new habits, or honest conversations. The universe was preparing you for the leap the entire time. When the click happens, it's both surprising and entirely logical, a direct outcome of the feedback loop's constant readiness to deliver when your signal is finally clear. Honor your click moments. Write them down, celebrate them, and let them reinforce your trust in the feedback process. Notice what changes in your body, your thoughts, and your actions in the aftermath. Often, one click moment will set off a chain reaction, leading to more synchronicity and faster upgrades. If you feel stuck waiting for a click, remember, your only job is to keep cleaning the signal, responding to feedback, and embodying your desired state. The moment will arrive, not because you forced it, but because the loop is always responding to the clearest, strongest version of your signal. Detoxed? Here's how to create click moments, where feedback suddenly gets clearer, faster, and more powerful. Now you're ready to apply this instant upgrade to the most intimate and complex area of your life: relationships. Next, we will explore how the quantum feedback loop operates in love, friendship, and conflict, revealing the unspoken conversation that shapes every connection you have. You've experienced click moments and seen how the feedback loop can shift instantly. But what about the relationships that fill your world: romantic, familial, friendships, even daily interactions with strangers? The truth is, every connection is an ongoing quantum feedback loop, an unspoken conversation where signals, intentions, and unconscious beliefs are exchanged and reflected, often more powerfully than words. Every interaction, no matter how small, is shaped by the energy you bring. People respond not just to what you say or do, but to the silent signals you project: expectations, judgments, fears, hopes, and even your unspoken self-image. These signals meet the signals of others, creating a field of feedback that continually evolves with every gesture, word, and emotion. Have you noticed how the mood or energy of one person can transform a whole room? How a single glance, touch, or word can shift the emotional landscape of a relationship for days? This is the quantum feedback loop in action, showing you in real time what you and others are broadcasting and receiving. The loop is especially sensitive in close relationships. Patterns of trust, defensiveness, love, or resentment can cycle for years if left unconscious. If you repeatedly attract partners or friends who mirror certain qualities or challenges, this is the loop holding up a mirror, inviting you to notice what in your own signal keeps drawing the same results. The fastest way to transform relationship feedback is to become radically aware of what you're bringing into each interaction. Are you seeking validation or offering genuine presence? Are you unconsciously expecting conflict or open to connection. Your willingness to notice, adjust, and reset your signal often shifts the dynamic instantly. No words required. You can use the feedback journal to map your relationship patterns, triggers, and emotional cycles. Notice which situations bring out your best and worst self. What are these moments showing you about your beliefs and expectations? Instead of blaming or trying to fix others, use the loop as a personal growth tool. What is this feedback revealing about you? True relationship alchemy begins when you take ownership of your signal. When you shift from needing others to change, to focusing on your own state, the loop responds. You may notice old arguments dissolve, new connections form, or long-standing issues resolve in surprising ways. The unspoken conversation gets an upgrade, simply because your signal has changed. Now, let's look at how the loop operates in a domain most people worry about daily: money. You'll see that just like relationships, your abundance or struggle is a direct mirror of your state, beliefs, and signal. Next, we will explore the quantum feedback of money and why wealth is never just about numbers, but about the frequency you consistently send. Now that you've learned how the feedback loop shapes your relationships, it's time to look at one of the most charged and misunderstood aspects of life: money. Finances, just like love, are subject to the quantum feedback loop. Wealth is not a fixed destination or an external prize. It's a dynamic reflection of your beliefs, emotions, habits, and the micro-intentions you send out every day. Let's begin with the signal you're broadcasting about money. Are you feeling abundant, grateful, and open to receiving? Or do you feel anxious, resentful, or envious? Do you find yourself rehearsing stories of not enough, scarcity, or comparing yourself to others? Every thought, feeling, and action becomes a signal, and the feedback loop responds by creating more evidence for whatever you most consistently emit. Money is energy. It flows, stagnates, or multiplies in response to your frequency. If you treat money with fear or obsession, the loop brings situations that reinforce lack or stress. If you treat it with appreciation, clarity, and healthy boundaries, the loop reflects flow, opportunity, and new channels of abundance. Notice your money patterns. Do windfalls quickly disappear? Do unexpected expenses always follow moments of hope? Are you uncomfortable asking for what you're worth, or receiving gifts and help? These patterns are not random. They're feedback revealing what you truly believe about receiving, self-worth, and the limits of your comfort zone. One of the quickest ways to shift your money feedback is to practice gratitude for what's already flowing, no matter how small. Every act of generosity, responsible stewardship, or conscious spending is a signal. The feedback loop amplifies these signals, bringing new resources and creative solutions that often show up when you least expect them. Wealth also responds to the stories you tell about it. If you believe money is hard, scarce, or dirty, the loop obliges with challenges. If you see it as a tool for good, an amplifier of your true nature, or a neutral flow of energy, you unlock new ways for abundance to enter your life. If you want to upgrade your money loop, start tracking your beliefs, emotions, and habits around finances in your feedback journal. Notice what triggers old stories or strong emotions. Test new behaviors: saving, investing, giving, asking, and record the feedback that follows. Over time, you'll notice patterns dissolving, opportunities increasing, and a sense of trust replacing fear. Relationships covered. How about abundance? The loop runs the show in Money Matters too. But energy is at the heart of all feedback, and your health is its most immediate and tangible expression. Next, we will explore how your body acts as a quantum mirror and how you can use feedback to create profound shifts in your health and well-being. After exploring the quantum feedback loop in relationships and money, it's time to look at the most personal and immediate feedback system of all: your body. Your health is a living mirror, constantly reflecting the state of your energy, beliefs, emotions, and habits. Every symptom, surge of vitality, or recurring issue is not just a random occurrence, but direct feedback from your inner quantum environment. Start by noticing how your body responds to your daily thoughts and emotions. Do you feel energized after positive interactions or restful moments, but depleted after stressful conversations or worries? Physical symptoms often appear after long periods of ignoring emotional or mental static. Tension, headaches, fatigue, and even chronic illness can be read as signals, messages from your body asking for alignment, attention, and sometimes release. The feedback loop in health works on many levels. At the surface, there are habits, what you eat, how you move, how you rest. But at a deeper layer, there are your beliefs about your body, your worthiness to heal, and your expectations for what is possible. Many people unconsciously send signals of neglect or self-criticism, which the loop then mirrors as low energy, pain, or repeated health setbacks. Tune in to your self-talk around health. Do you affirm wellness and resilience, or do you expect struggle and decline? Every belief is a micro-intention. Even statements like, "I always get sick in winter," or "This is just how my body is," act as powerful signals to the feedback loop, priming it to deliver matching results. But there's good news. Just as with money and relationships, you can shift your health feedback loop. Begin by acknowledging your body's messages with compassion, not frustration. Use movement, breathwork, nourishing food, and conscious rest as acts of gratitude and alignment. Journal the connections between your emotions, beliefs, and physical states. You'll quickly see patterns and opportunities for real change. The body responds rapidly to upgraded signals. Small shifts in mindset, daily habits, or emotional release can trigger cascades of positive feedback. More energy, deeper sleep, less pain, quicker recovery. The key is consistency and honest listening. Your health is not your enemy, but your most intimate partner in the feedback dance. Money is energy, so is your health. What is your body telling you, and how can you change the loop? When you learn to read and respond to this feedback, you unlock a new level of vitality and trust in your body's intelligence. Now that you've tuned into your health feedback, prepare for something even stranger: the way the loop can actually warp your experience of time. Next, we will look at the quantum phenomenon of time bending and how your state and signal can accelerate or stall results in the most mysterious ways. You've noticed feedback in your body, relationships, and finances. But there's one feedback phenomenon almost everyone has experienced, yet few understand: the mysterious way time seems to stretch, compress, or even stand still as you shift your signal. This is time bending, the quantum feedback loop's ability to rearrange your experience of when things happen depending on your state of being. Have you ever felt that time flies when you're in flow, only to drag when you're anxious or resistant? Or noticed that the harder you chase a goal, the further away it seems, until you finally let go, and it arrives seemingly overnight? These are not just tricks of perception, but evidence that your feedback loop is intertwined with your relationship to time itself. The feedback loop is sensitive to your inner clock. When you're fully present, aligned, and open, the loop collapses possibilities rapidly. Synchronicities pile up, opportunities arrive in quick succession, and change happens all at once. When you're impatient, obsessed with deadlines, or stuck in fear, the loop mirrors this static with delays, setbacks, and a sense of endless waiting. Begin to notice your language around time. Do you often say, "I never have enough time," "This is taking forever," or "Things never happen when I want them to"? These beliefs are signals, shaping your feedback loop and slowing your results. Conversely, when you trust timing, stay open, and act from inspiration rather than pressure, things speed up and seem to fall into place. One of the most effective ways to shift your experience of time is to release your grip on how long it should take. Focus on your state. Are you enjoying the process? Feeling grateful for the journey? Staying curious? These frequencies make time feel expansive and generous, as if you're bending the rules of the clock in your favor. If you feel stuck in waiting or frustration, use it as feedback. Reset your signal by returning to presence, gratitude, and willingness to receive however and whenever the results arrive. Often, the breakthrough comes the moment you stop obsessing about when it will happen. The loop can warp your sense of time in profound ways. When you master this, you'll see that waiting is not wasted time. It's feedback, inviting you to align more deeply and trust the unfolding process. Now you've seen health feedback and time tricks, but what about those moments when your results are just out of reach, teasing you but never quite landing? Next, we will explore the almost there phenomenon and how to finally break through to lasting, tangible outcomes. You've now seen how time itself can bend and flex in response to your signal. But what about those moments when you seem to be right on the edge of your breakthrough, yet it always remains just out of reach? This is the almost there phenomenon, a feedback pattern that teases with glimpses of success, only to withhold the full result. It's one of the most frustrating and mysterious experiences in the quantum feedback loop. If you've ever felt stuck in cycles where you're so close to your goal, whether it's love, abundance, a job offer, or a personal milestone, yet never quite able to cross the finish line, you're not alone. This phenomenon is feedback at its most subtle. The universe is signaling that you're on the right track, but there is still a slight misalignment in your signal, belief, or readiness. Why does this pattern occur? Often, it's because a small piece of your inner state still clings to old fears, doubts, or attachments. There may be an unconscious fear of what happens when you finally succeed, or a lingering belief that you don't quite deserve the outcome. The loop, ever faithful, responds by bringing you right to the edge, close enough to build hope, but not yet fully delivering the result. This is not punishment or failure. It's precise, compassionate feedback. The almost there phenomenon invites you to look deeper. What is the final piece that needs to shift? Are you fully embodying your new identity, or still holding back out of habit or fear? Is there a final layer of surrender, trust, or self-worth that needs attention? Start by observing your thoughts and emotions when you sense you're on the verge of a breakthrough. Do you tense up, get impatient, or mentally rehearse what might go wrong? Do you find yourself seeking reassurance or obsessing over signs? Each of these is feedback showing you exactly where your signal is still divided. Instead of pushing harder, take a step back. Return to presence, gratitude, and openness. Trust that the loop has already received your signal and is calibrating the timing for your greatest growth. Sometimes, a breakthrough comes the moment you truly release the outcome and become willing to receive, in any form or timing. When you finally break through the almost there barrier, the feedback loop often delivers results that are bigger, more surprising, and more satisfying than you expected. The waiting wasn't wasted time. It was an opportunity to align every part of your being with the reality you're calling in. Time bending revealed, so why do results show up? Almost, but not quite. Now you're ready to see what happens when the old reality truly fades away. Next, we will explore the experience of loop collapse and how to recognize the signs that your old world is dissolving to make room for something entirely new. You've learned to recognize when you're almost there. But what follows next can be even more disorienting. A period where the old, familiar reality begins to dissolve, often before any new evidence has fully arrived. This is the loop collapse, a phase where your signal is so transformed that the universe starts to break down patterns, situations, and even identities that no longer fit your upgraded state. Loop collapse often feels like chaos or uncertainty. Relationships may shift, old opportunities vanish, routines are disrupted, and things that once felt solid suddenly lose meaning or effectiveness. It's tempting to interpret this as failure or loss, but it's actually the clearest feedback yet. Your signal has changed, and the universe is reorganizing to match. This phase is essential. In order for a new reality to take shape, the old one must make space. Just as you wouldn't try to build a new house on top of a crumbling foundation, the loop collapses what's outdated or misaligned before constructing something new. This process can feel uncomfortable, but it's a sure sign that your feedback loop is working at the deepest level. During loop collapse, resist the urge to rush back to the familiar out of fear or discomfort. Instead, use this time to reinforce your upgraded signal. Return to your practices of embodiment, gratitude, coherence, and presence. Affirm that even in chaos, you are being guided and supported. Watch for new possibilities that arise in the gaps. The collapse of the old often opens doors you couldn't have seen before. Unexpected invitations, new connections, creative insights, or even moments of deep peace can surface when you let the old dissolve. You might also notice an increase in synchronicity and quantum leaps during this time. The feedback loop, no longer constrained by outdated patterns, is free to respond to your new signal with greater creativity and speed. Trust that every ending is feedback in disguise, preparing the ground for a new beginning. If the transition feels overwhelming, lean on your feedback journal, supportive relationships, and the practices you've cultivated. Remind yourself, this is a sign of growth, not regression. The collapse is evidence that your inner work is taking root and reality is catching up. Almost there can be frustrating. Here's how to recognize and navigate the collapse of your old world. Next, we will ride the wave of newness and learn how to tap into the feedback loop for creativity, innovation, and breakthroughs in every area of life. Now that you understand loop collapse and the fading away of old realities, a new horizon appears, one filled with untapped potential, inspiration, and invention. This is where the quantum feedback loop becomes your ally in creativity and innovation. When the old patterns fall away, space opens for new ideas, solutions, and breakthroughs that previously seemed out of reach. Creativity isn't reserved for artists or inventors. It's the natural flow of new possibilities through the feedback loop. Every time you ask a new question, approach a problem from a different angle, or invite inspiration, you are sending a fresh signal into the field. The loop responds by delivering unexpected connections, flashes of insight, and sometimes those aha moments that change everything. Notice how your most creative ideas often arrive in moments of play, rest, or surrender, not when you're forcing or overthinking. The feedback loop is most responsive when you are relaxed, open, and curious. These states quiet the static of self-doubt and expectation, making your signal clearer and more magnetic to innovation. To use the feedback loop for creative supercharge, start by framing every challenge as a question rather than a problem. Instead of, "Why isn't this working?" try, "What new solution wants to emerge here?" Journal your curiosities and desires for breakthrough. Then, give yourself space. Step away from the issue, engage in something enjoyable, and let the feedback arrive in its own timing. Record synchronicities and random connections that seem irrelevant at first. Many creative breakthroughs come from unexpected sources. A song lyric, a casual remark, a sudden urge to try something different. Trust that the loop is always listening for your creative signal and eager to surprise you when you're open. Don't be afraid to experiment. Try new routines, explore different environments, and connect with people outside your usual circle. The feedback loop thrives on novelty and will often deliver inspiration right after you step into the unknown. As you ride the wave of newness, you'll notice your feedback accelerating. Solutions and ideas come faster, and your confidence grows. Creative supercharge is simply the loop reflecting your willingness to be surprised, to play, and to co-create with the universe. With collapse comes newness. Now you're ready to tap into quantum feedback for creative breakthroughs. But there's another channel that often goes unexplored: your dreams. Next, we will uncover how feedback appears while you sleep and how to decode the messages your subconscious is sending you every night. Ideas flowing during the day, but what about when your conscious mind is asleep? The quantum feedback loop doesn't clock out at night. In fact, your dream state is one of the richest sources of feedback you'll ever access, full of symbols, insights, and hidden messages that bypass your waking filters. Dream work is the art of decoding this nighttime guidance and using it to upgrade your daily signal. Your dreams are direct conversations between your subconscious, the quantum field, and your waking intentions. What you dwell on before sleep, the questions you ask, and the emotional state you bring into rest all shape the feedback you receive. Recurring dreams, sudden breakthroughs, or even nightmares are messages. Feedback responding to what's unresolved, unexpressed, or ready to shift. To begin dream work, start by setting an intention before sleep. Ask a question, invite clarity, or simply request guidance on a challenge you're facing. Keep a notebook by your bed and write down whatever you recall upon waking, no matter how strange or fragmented it seems. Over time, you'll start to notice patterns, themes, and even answers appearing in symbolic form. Dream symbols are personal. While books of interpretation can provide clues, the most accurate meaning is the one that resonates with you. A specific animal, place, or recurring scenario may be your subconscious's way of sending a signal that your waking mind has missed. Approach your dreams with curiosity and openness, treating each one as another message from the feedback loop. Pay attention to the emotions in your dreams. Fear, joy, frustration, or relief. All are signals, pointing you to what needs attention or celebration in your waking life. Often, a breakthrough in dream work leads to sudden clarity, emotional release, or even a practical solution to a problem you've been pondering. If you're struggling to remember your dreams, don't worry. The act of setting intention and journaling even fragments sends a powerful signal to the feedback loop that you're ready to receive nighttime guidance. Over time, your dream recall and insight will strengthen. By decoding your dreams, you access another layer of feedback, one that can guide, heal, and accelerate change in ways your waking mind alone cannot. Treat your dream world as a partner in your quantum journey. Ideas flowing, what about your dreams? Now you're ready to bring quantum feedback into your work and leadership. Next, we will discover how to hack projects, teams, and even bosses using the loop, and why your job will never look the same again. Dreams have shown you the depth of quantum feedback, but your workplace, whether it's an office, a classroom, or your kitchen table, is one of the richest arenas for applying the loop. Every project, team dynamic, and interaction with authority is an ongoing dance of signal and response, with opportunities for breakthroughs hidden in plain sight. Start with your own workday. The energy you bring to each task, your mindset about challenges, and your micro-intentions as you open an email or step into a meeting all become signals. The feedback loop at work is immediate. A sense of flow and synchronicity when your signal is clear, resistance and confusion when it's not. Notice which activities light you up and which drain you. These are feedback clues guiding you toward alignment and growth. Projects respond to the intentions and beliefs of those involved. If a team shares excitement and clarity, obstacles dissolve, creative solutions multiply, and progress accelerates. If worry, rivalry, or doubt dominate, the loop mirrors back delays, miscommunication, and missed opportunities. You can influence the loop by setting personal intentions of collaboration, learning, or ease, regardless of what others are doing. Bosses and leaders are not immune to the loop. Their energy and expectations often ripple through an entire organization. If you work under a supportive leader, you'll likely notice more positive feedback and opportunities. But even in challenging environments, you can subtly shift the energy by adjusting your own state, focusing on solutions, and embodying the change you wish to see. Use the feedback journal to track your work interactions and outcomes. Record small wins, synchronicities, and even conflicts. They all contain messages about your signal. Ask yourself, what is my feedback loop reflecting about my work habits, relationships, and beliefs about success? Over time, you'll find patterns and discover where small adjustments create big results. Hacking the feedback loop at work isn't about manipulation. It's about conscious participation. By staying present, clear, and responsive, you create a field of influence that often draws others into higher alignment without any force or confrontation. Teams become more innovative, projects unfold with less stress, and even difficult colleagues may start to shift as the loop recalibrates. Your job, business, or creative project becomes a living feedback lab, constantly teaching you how to refine your signal and maximize your results. Soon, you'll find that luck and timing at work are actually the quantum loop reflecting your growing mastery. Dreams hold messages. Now feedback is coming into your work and leadership. But where do the deepest, oldest patterns live? Next, we will examine your family and ancestral feedback cycles, those hidden loops passed down through generations and ready for new awareness and transformation. Your career and creative life are influenced by your signal, but perhaps nothing shapes your feedback loop more powerfully than the patterns you inherit from family. Generational loops, cycles of belief, trauma, strength, and limitation, can echo silently through families for decades, shaping destinies without a word ever being spoken. These inherited feedback loops might look like recurring themes: repeated struggles with money, health, or relationships, shared fears or dreams, or even the same kinds of successes and failures showing up across generations. Sometimes it's as simple as certain sayings, rules, or the way things are done in your family. More often, these are signals from long-forgotten events and choices reverberating through the quantum field. Becoming aware of generational loops doesn't mean blaming or resenting your ancestors. It means understanding that your signal is influenced by more than your individual history. You are the latest transmitter and receiver in a lineage of feedback, with the unique opportunity to notice, honor, and upgrade patterns that no longer serve. Start by mapping your family stories, both the struggles and the strengths. Notice recurring phrases, emotional climates, or turning points that seem to repeat. Use your feedback journal to capture your family's quantum echoes. Where do your habits, beliefs, or challenges feel like old news, inherited rather than chosen? The most profound healing often happens when you recognize these loops and consciously choose to send a new signal. Every act of forgiveness, courage, or creative decision that breaks with the past sends ripples through the family feedback field, freeing future generations as well. If you feel resistance or fear when challenging family patterns, use it as feedback that you are at the edge of real change. Acknowledge the gifts your lineage has given, and then set intentions that reflect your current values, dreams, and growth. This transforms family feedback from a weight to a springboard. Teams upgraded. What about family patterns? You're ready to explore what happens when feedback seems to go silent, when, despite your best efforts, nothing appears to change. Next, we will uncover the mystery of the silent loop and how to recognize the feedback hiding beneath stillness and apparent stasis. You've traced feedback through your family line, uncovering generational patterns that shape your signal. But sometimes, even after you've done the inner work, shifted your mindset, and sent new intentions into the loop, reality appears unmoved. No synchronicities, no breakthroughs, just silence. This is the silent loop, an experience where feedback goes underground, progress feels invisible, and the universe seems to hit pause. It's easy to interpret this silence as stagnation or failure, but in truth, the silent loop is a unique form of feedback. It's the field recalibrating, reorganizing, and preparing for your next level. Think of it like winter in nature. Beneath the surface, roots are growing, energy is gathering, and unseen forces are at work. The universe is never idle. Sometimes, the quiet is exactly what's needed for deep transformation. During silent loop phases, your job is to hold your signal steady. Resist the urge to revert to old habits, desperate action, or self-doubt. Instead, double down on presence, self-care, and trust. Use this time for reflection, skill building, or exploring creative pursuits without expectation of immediate results. The most important shifts often happen right before or during a silent period. Silence is also feedback about your state of readiness. Sometimes the loop pauses to give you space to integrate lessons, build resilience, or clarify your vision. Other times, it's protecting you from opportunities that aren't quite aligned, or simply waiting for external conditions to catch up with your new signal. Track your silent loop experiences in your journal. What new insights, emotions, or creative nudges arise during these quiet times? Often, clarity or inspiration strikes in unexpected ways, revealing the feedback that was hidden all along. Remember, the silent loop is not a void. It's a laboratory of potential, waiting for your next wave of clarity and commitment. By staying present and open, you create the conditions for sudden, dramatic feedback shifts when the timing is right. Family loops traced. What if nothing changes? No matter what you do, the silent loop is waiting to be cracked. Next, we move to the moments when the universe makes its move, when feedback becomes impossible to ignore and life demands change, ready or not. The silent loop can last days, weeks, or even longer, but eventually, the feedback field always moves. Sometimes, it shifts gently. Other times, it arrives with undeniable force, shattering old routines, relationships, or circumstances in what feels like an earthquake. This is the feedback collapse, when the universe itself steps in and forces your hand, catalyzing rapid change whether you feel prepared or not. Feedback collapse isn't about punishment. It's the ultimate upgrade. When your inner and outer realities are too far out of sync, the loop acts to restore harmony. By ending jobs, relationships, or situations that no longer serve your growth. It can feel like everything is falling apart, but beneath the surface, your highest intentions and clearest signals are finally coming to fruition. Signs of a feedback collapse include sudden endings, big moves, dramatic shifts in fortune, or even profound insights that change your sense of purpose. Often, collapse is preceded by long periods of frustration or stagnation. The silent loop building pressure until a breakthrough is inevitable. If you find yourself in the midst of collapse, pause and breathe. Trust that you are not being abandoned or punished. Instead, see this as the universe delivering the upgrade your soul has been calling for, even if your ego resists. Let go of what's falling away and focus on the signals calling you forward. Lean on your feedback journal, support systems, and daily practices during this time. Remember, collapse clears space for a new level of alignment, creativity, and fulfillment. The discomfort is temporary, but the possibilities on the other side are vast. After the storm, watch for new invitations, ideas, or connections that feel surprising yet right. The feedback loop, now free from old blocks, will rush in to fill the space you've made with resonance, opportunity, and flow. Silence can be loud. What happens when feedback forces massive change? Whether you're ready or not. Now, having weathered the storm, you're invited to explore the most advanced feedback skill of all. Stepping outside the loop to observe and shape the feedback about your feedback. The ultimate meta-awareness. After experiencing the force of a feedback collapse, you may notice a new level of awareness emerging. A sense that not only are you receiving feedback, but you can observe how you react to it, interpret it, and shape it. This is the meta loop. Feedback about your feedback, a state of higher consciousness where you watch your own participation in the quantum loop with fresh eyes. Meta-awareness is the ability to step outside the immediate experience and see the patterns you're living, the beliefs you're reinforcing, and the ways you handle both positive and negative feedback. Instead of being swept along by circumstances, you become a conscious observer and editor of your own story. You notice not only what the universe is reflecting, but also how your own interpretations and emotions reinforce or change the results. For example, if you receive criticism at work, your meta loop might reveal a tendency to take it personally, replay it mentally, or let it sabotage your self-worth. Recognizing this reaction gives you the power to choose a different response, to see criticism as data, refine your signal, and grow rather than spiral into self-doubt. Similarly, when positive feedback comes, your meta loop lets you notice whether you fully receive it or brush it off, missing the chance to reinforce abundance. Practicing meta loop awareness means regularly pausing to ask, how am I interpreting this feedback? What story am I telling about what's happening? How does my reaction shape the next round of results? Use your feedback journal to track these insights. Over time, you'll see that your experience of reality is not just about the events themselves, but the meaning and energy you bring to them. Meta loop mastery allows you to update your beliefs and habits in real time, turning every experience into a learning moment. It's the feedback loop going self-aware, a living intelligence you can co-create with, rather than something that happens to you. Forced change experienced. Now, can you step outside and see the feedback about your feedback? This is meta mastery. Next, it's time to get practical. Let's run live experiments to test the loop, see instant results, and experience the feedback field in real time. Meta loop awareness has primed you for hands-on discovery. Now, it's time to test the principles for yourself with real-time quantum experiments. This is where theory becomes undeniable experience and where you learn through action and observation just how responsive the feedback loop can be. Start with simple intentions. Choose something small and clear, like receiving a compliment, spotting a certain symbol, or having a positive interaction. Set your signal with clarity. State your intention, feel it as real, and release attachment to the outcome. Then, move through your day watching for feedback, noting both subtle and obvious responses from the field. Track everything in your feedback journal. Did you receive what you asked for? Did it show up in a surprising way? Was there a delay or an immediate result? What emotions and beliefs arose as you waited or received? This process isn't about forcing results. but about playfully engaging with the loop and learning how your signal translates into experience. For group experiments, gather friends or like-minded seekers. Set collective intentions, such as support, creativity, or abundance, and watch how group energy amplifies the feedback. Share your observations, discuss patterns, and celebrate synchronicities. You'll notice that feedback is often stronger and faster in groups, as signals blend and multiply. Try varying your experiments. Test the impact of different emotions, beliefs, or environments on your results. What happens when you act from curiosity rather than expectation? How does gratitude affect the speed and quality of feedback? Treat your life as a living laboratory, constantly refining your understanding of the loop. As you run more experiments, your confidence in the feedback loop will soar. You'll move from hope to trust, from theory to lived experience. The quantum field will become not just an idea, but a tangible partner in your everyday life. Meta-awareness gained. Time to experiment. Let's see the loop respond instantly. Next, you'll discover the power of building your own feedback circle. A group of co-creators who amplify the loop's effects and accelerate everyone's results. You've tested the feedback loop through personal and group experiments, experiencing firsthand how quickly signals and intentions can ripple out and return. But there's an even greater amplification available. Building your own feedback circle, a community or team of people dedicated to conscious creation, mutual support, and shared quantum upgrades. A feedback circle is more than just a group of friends. It's a conscious network where each person acts as both signal sender and feedback mirror. Every intention set, insight shared, or breakthrough celebrated reverberates through the group, raising everyone's frequency and accelerating results for all. When collective energy is focused, the feedback loop becomes exponentially more powerful. To start your own feedback circle, gather a few open-minded individuals who share your curiosity about the quantum loop. Set the tone with shared intentions: support, growth, abundance, creativity, or any area of focus. Create a space, physical or digital, where members can regularly share intentions, experiences, and feedback, knowing that all contributions are honored and confidential. In each meeting, encourage members to articulate their current signal, what they're working on, the state they want to embody, or feedback they're noticing. Group meditations, intention-setting rituals, or simple feedback rounds can be powerful ways to sync up your energies. Celebrate each person's synchronicities and upgrades, knowing that every win is a signal for the whole group. Use your feedback journal collectively, too. Compare patterns, track group experiments, and notice how quickly results multiply when you're part of an intentional community. Be open to learning from setbacks as well as successes. The loop is always teaching, and group reflections often reveal blind spots you'd miss alone. If challenges arise, treat them as shared feedback rather than obstacles. The group's honesty, support, and encouragement will help everyone return to alignment faster. Over time, you'll notice that your feedback circle becomes a field of trust and transformation, amplifying not just outcomes but deep, lasting change in every member. After your own experiments, why not build a feedback circle? Here's how to create a group quantum mastermind. But as your power grows, so does your responsibility. Next, it's essential to explore the ethics of influencing feedback, learning to play with this system wisely, honorably, and for the highest good of all involved. With a feedback circle in place and your influence expanding, a new question naturally arises. How do you use the quantum feedback loop responsibly? Ethics are central in any system of power, and the loop is no exception. Every intention, action, and signal has consequences, not just for you, but for everyone touched by your field. Ethical quantum practice means using the feedback loop for creativity, healing, growth, and collective upliftment, never for manipulation, harm, or coercion. The loop is most responsive to clean, compassionate intentions. When your actions are guided by love, truth, and respect for others' autonomy, the feedback you receive is not only more powerful but more sustainable and joyful. Be mindful of the impact your signals have on those around you. Just as your vibe can uplift a group, it can also spread anxiety, fear, or limitation if not checked. Before setting powerful intentions, Ask, does this serve the highest good? Does it honor the free will of others? Would I welcome this energy if it were returned to me multiplied? When working within a feedback circle, foster transparency and consent. Share your intentions openly, invite input from others, and never use group energy to force outcomes for someone who isn't willing or aware. Encourage boundaries, self-awareness, and mutual respect. These are the roots of quantum integrity. If you notice yourself slipping into manipulation, jealousy, or resentment, pause and reset your signal. The loop will faithfully reflect whatever you put out, so choose to act from your clearest, kindest, and most authentic self. Remember, quantum feedback is not about controlling others or the world. It's about becoming a more conscious, creative, and ethical participant in reality. The most profound feedback comes when your actions are aligned with love, service, and a genuine desire for collective uplift. With power comes responsibility. Let's talk about the ethics of influencing your loop and others' feedback. Next, you'll learn from the most spectacular feedback failures. Those moments when things backfire, the loop teaches a hard lesson, and new wisdom is born from the edge. With ethics and responsibility now guiding your quantum practice, it's time to face an uncomfortable truth. Not every feedback experiment yields the desired result. Sometimes, intentions misfire, signals are muddled, or unexpected outcomes challenge your confidence in the loop. These quantum feedback failures are not dead ends. They're some of the most valuable learning experiences available. Failures happen for many reasons: unclear intentions, hidden fears, unresolved beliefs, or attempts to manipulate outcomes rather than co-create with the field. Sometimes the feedback you receive is the opposite of what you expected. A job loss instead of a promotion, a relationship ending rather than deepening, a string of setbacks after a burst of optimism. In the moment, it's tempting to abandon the process or label yourself as bad at manifesting. But the loop never judges. It simply mirrors the deepest truth of your state, offering honest, sometimes stark, feedback about what's actually being broadcast. The wrong result is often a sign that your conscious desires and unconscious beliefs are not aligned, or that the universe has something better in store, just beyond your current vision. The key to navigating feedback failures is radical curiosity. Instead of giving up, ask, what is this experience showing me about my signal, my beliefs, or my readiness? Use your feedback journal to document failed experiments, difficult outcomes, or periods of confusion. Look for patterns. Are you consistently sending mixed signals? Are old stories of scarcity, unworthiness, or impatience creeping in? Every failure contains a blueprint for your next upgrade. Share your feedback failures with your circle or community. Honest conversations about what didn't work can reveal collective blind spots and foster new breakthroughs for everyone involved. Sometimes, a single insight, gleaned from a painful detour, becomes the missing key that unlocks progress for you and others. Remember, quantum feedback is a process, not a one-time event. The most advanced practitioners learn to welcome failures as signposts on the road to mastery. Over time, your resilience grows, your experiments become more refined, and you develop a trust that even setbacks are encoded with wisdom and possibility. Ethics explored. Ready for the craziest failures? Here's what happens when the loop backfires and what to learn. Next, with new wisdom in hand, let's explore 5 advanced feedback hacks. Practical, powerful upgrades to take your loop mastery to the next level. You've integrated lessons from both successes and failures in the feedback loop. Now it's time for the ultimate upgrade. 5 advanced quantum feedback hacks to supercharge your reality, accelerate results, and unlock new creative potential. Hack number 1. State shifting on command. Master the art of instantly changing your energetic state. Use breathwork, music, posture, or movement to rapidly shift from anxiety or stagnation to clarity and enthusiasm. The faster you shift, the faster the loop responds. Hack number 2. Multi-signal broadcasting. Instead of focusing on a single intention, layer multiple aligned signals at once: thoughts, feelings, actions, and even sensory cues, like vision boards or affirmations. The loop is more responsive to a full-spectrum broadcast than a single-channel wish. Hack number 3, reverse engineering feedback. When you receive surprising or unwanted feedback, work backwards. Ask, what signal must I have sent for this to show up? Use the evidence as a direct map to update your beliefs or intentions for a different outcome next time. Hack number 4, quantum time compression. Harness the loop's time-bending property by acting as if your result is already here. Visualize, feel, and behave from the outcome, not just toward it. This creates quantum shortcuts, collapsing the gap between desire and manifestation. Hack number 5, reality pingbacks. Set up playful experiments to test your influence. Ask for a specific sign, number, or opportunity, and watch how quickly, or in what form, it appears. These pingbacks train your awareness, deepen your trust, and create a feedback-rich dialogue with reality. Integrate these hacks one by one, noticing how each shift upgrades the loop's responsiveness and power. Combine them for maximum effect, and keep journaling your experiments and results. Failures learned. Now let's level up with the most advanced, rarely shared feedback hacks. Next, with all these tools, it's time to explore the infinite nature of the feedback loop, how there is truly no endpoint, and how to thrive within this endless creative flow. With advanced feedback hacks in your toolkit, it's time to see the feedback loop for what it truly is, an infinite, ever-unfolding process. There is no final destination or ultimate mastery. The feedback loop never ends. Each intention, experiment, failure, and breakthrough is simply one moment in an ongoing dance with reality. This realization is liberating. There's always another layer to explore, another frequency to tune, another creative leap waiting to be discovered. Even your biggest manifestations, once achieved, become the new baseline from which further feedback arises. The loop expands, contracts, and evolves with you, forever. Embracing the infinite loop means letting go of the idea that you'll ever arrive or become permanently free from challenge. Instead, you gain the freedom to play, create, and learn at every stage. You begin to see every result, positive, negative, or neutral, as just more feedback, more information, more opportunity to grow. Stay curious and humble. Celebrate your wins, but don't get stuck in them. Learn from setbacks, but don't get discouraged. The beauty of the infinite loop is that you can always reset, always adjust, always send a new signal and receive a new response. You'll also notice that as your mastery grows, the feedback loop becomes subtler, richer, and more complex. The challenges may grow in nuance, but so do your skills, intuition, and creativity. You're now playing on the frontier of reality itself, where feedback and consciousness merge into an endless spiral of discovery. Upgrades integrated. Did you realize the loop has no endpoint? Here's how to ride the infinite wave. With this perspective, you're ready to become a conscious architect, designing your new reality using everything you've learned. Next, let's build your personal quantum blueprint and set the stage for the grand integration ahead. Standing in the flow of the infinite feedback loop, you realize you have a power that few ever claim, the ability to consciously design your own reality. This is your quantum blueprint, the unique set of beliefs, intentions, habits, and creative practices you assemble to guide your ongoing evolution. Start by defining your core values and desires. What really matters to you? What qualities and experiences do you want to become your new baseline? Your blueprint isn't just a vision board. It's a living, evolving framework that matches your soul's deepest truth. Map out your intentions for all areas of your life: relationships, health, finances, creativity, contribution, and personal growth. Get specific. What new signals will you send? How will you embody these intentions daily? Use the feedback journal to track your progress, spot patterns, and course-correct as needed. Next, integrate your advanced loop hacks. Choose rituals, mindsets, and experiments that keep your signal strong and your feedback clean. Surround yourself with supportive circles, nurture your environment, and make feedback an everyday language. Remember, your quantum blueprint is flexible. It grows as you do. Periodically review and update it as your reality shifts. Celebrate each upgrade and learn from each feedback cycle, knowing that your design powers the infinite loop forward. You've mastered the loop. Now it's time to build your own blueprint for a custom-made reality. With the foundation set, the grand integration is next. You're about to step fully into your new quantum self, weaving every lesson into a unified, empowered way of living. You've traveled through every layer of the quantum feedback loop, uncovering hidden steps, dissolving old patterns, testing new hacks, and building a quantum blueprint for your ideal reality. Now, all of it comes together in the grand integration. This is the moment where everything you've learned moves from theory to embodied knowing, from experiment to everyday life. Integration isn't about perfection. It's about living as the new you, consciously, curiously, and creatively. No matter what feedback shows up, you've learned that reality is not something happening to you, but something happening with you every moment. The loop is always on, always responding, always inviting you to participate more deeply. The grand integration means showing up each day as the living signal of your desires and values. You pause to check your feedback, adjust your signal, and celebrate your results, not as a routine but as a way of being. You use your feedback journal not just as a tool, but as a map of your evolution, a story of your ongoing co-creation with the universe. Every interaction, challenge, and breakthrough is welcomed as an opportunity. You know how to reboot your feedback, reset after setbacks, and upgrade your reality with clarity and intention. You recognize silent loops, navigate collapse, and embrace both the joy and the discomfort that come with growth. Most importantly, you trust the process. You live with an open mind, a courageous heart, and a willingness to learn from every cycle. Your reality becomes more fluid, creative, and supportive because you've aligned yourself with the deepest laws of quantum feedback. You're not just a receiver of life's feedback. You're now a conscious creator, a quantum architect, an active participant in the unfolding dance of reality. Every day is a chance to send new signals, welcome new results, and refine your quantum blueprint. The infinite loop is your playground, your teacher, your ever-present partner. Welcome to the new quantum you. You have everything you need to create, transform, and enjoy reality on your own terms, one feedback loop at a time. This is only the beginning. The next signal is yours to send.